Yes, okay. So, go ahead and call the meeting. Owners' comments. Do I have anybody here that would like to speak tonight? Gary, it's all you.
There's people on the list.
They may not necessarily want to talk. They may just be on the list.
I signed up.
Perfect.
I didn't want to be ahead of it.
No, you're all good.
All right.
Thank you, Gary.
Hi, I'm Gary Hudspeth. I'm at 1471 Resolute Street in Spring Lake. I took the liberty of spamming you today, this week with a couple of emails, but I wanted you to see the photographs of the works being done. I know there are representatives who come out and look, but I wanted you to see it, and that's my topic today, is to talk about the paving of the alleys, which is pretty much David Weekly, which will then be turned over to CDD, but I wanted you to see it. And the second is the cable boxes, the communication connections that are being installed. So with that, let's talk about the communication boxes. They're still burying the underground cables, putting through the lines and putting those boxes in. But what you're seeing is a very slipshod job. They try to cover it up with dirt and then walk away, and then when the sprinkler systems come on, we haven't had any rain, you know, they all collapse because they didn't backfill very well. And in some cases they packed the dirt so high, and then they put the grass they took on top of it, so the new grass is 4 inches above the ground level. It's already died. You can't take that dirt off and put it back. You've got to get new grass. So the staff here let me know that yes, we'll go back and take a look at that, and we'll get the cable company to fix it. My point to you is, as we all learn with kids, and if you've been in any organization, you hate doing work twice. So I think there needs to be some on-site supervision, and that's my recommendation. Yes, there is a supervisor for the cable installation, and I talked to him the very first week he was out there. But whoever it is now, if it's not the same guy, they're not paying attention. And then maybe there needs to be supervision from the staff here more than just walking around occasionally. Because there's several boxes. I only took a few pictures. There are more. I walked around tonight before sunset, before I came. The issue is if one supervisor, either from the cable company or our staff, would look at the first installation and then critique it to the workmen, then they would know what to expect on every other box that they do. And then go see them maybe once a week. Because if you wait till the end, you've got 50, 75 boxes installed, and 30% of them you're going to have to fix, which means more time and more money because they wound up redoing it. I'm sounding like a broken record, I'm sorry, but the way I look at it is do it right the first time. But it's not being done. So we need some on-site supervision. The paving situation I just think is great, except they don't clean up after themselves. I was distressed when, well, of course, let me get back. You know, if you're in the business, they put down a layer of oil tar so the asphalt will adhere to the underlying surface. And it's usually sprayed by a truck. And then there's a guy with a can that's pressurized with a wand, kind of like an insect sprayer, who goes around and sprays the edges and the corners that the big truck can't get to, so the asphalt would adhere to the underlying surface. So that first picture I sent you of him spraying an X on somebody's lawn, 3 or 4 feet away from the road, is uncalled for. I don't know what he was doing or thinking, but that's no way to test out your system, you know. And then I showed you the other pictures where they just left a lot of gravel. Yes, it was picked up in some places today before the mowers came out on Tuesday morning, but the majority of it is still there, and they just rode over it and grinded it into the soil. Once again, the staff here told me, well, when it's all said and done, the supervisor said, we'll go through by the end of this week and make sure it's 100% clean. Sure, but you're putting your people to work twice when they should have done it the first day. once again, my recommendation is some on-site supervision. If they or one of our staff would be there on day one of the paving and watch them and said, wait, let's do this the right way the first time, then it wouldn't be so bad afterwards. And we may have prevented some of the damage that they've already occurred. So in summary, my expectations are the same as when I've read the contract with with Comcast, with Proscape, and all the covenants. And I've read most of them page to page. So I don't think I'm holding it to any higher standard. I think I'm following what has been written over the last 20 years and then the recent contracts. The difference is there's a failure of supervision somewhere. Either we are not requiring them to do their job, or we're not doing our job. And it's our money. So rather than do a portion of the job twice, let's do it right the first time. Well, I look after my home. Not everybody does, but I would like to think that we're paying ourselves to look after all of our community properties. So I'll put both of these together with my solutions and offer you this. Yes, we need more direct supervision on site at the beginning of every job to make sure it's done and corrected so that it follows through to the end. The second half of this all goes back to Proscape, because what they do is the best they can to fertilize, mulch, mow, and edge our lawn. But they don't do anything else because it's not in the contract, other than irrigation. I apologize. Irrigation is in there. If you'd walk around with me, you would see that the original landscaping before the paving, before the drains were put in some cases is way too high above the surface of the concrete and the pavement and the communication boxes. So as it rains, when the sprinkler comes on, it's eroding in some places. And a lot of people put in French drains, but at the incorrect height. We need to hire someone to walk through and hand landscape those areas that are being washed away. Reposition the sprinkler systems, reposition some of the French drains, and correct the height discrepancies in a lot of these areas. Some of these communication boxes are below the surface of the soil, so they're going to get covered with dirt. Some of them are way too high. In general, the front looks okay, but if you walk around, you see all the problems. And they will continue to be problems that we'll have to solve until we hire that one person to walk around a few hours every day and hand landscape to fix these drainage problems. So thank you. That's my recommendation. Could I do it? Sure. But it's not my property. You can hire me.
Touche. Gary, normally you just get 3 minutes, but
Yes.
but that's my point is that this is something that every single one of us on the board recognizes that Spring Lake has been a huge issue, and we don't ever want you to feel like we are not hearing you. We're struggling on our end to try and find solutions. I like your suggestion. I don't know that I can speak on behalf of everybody, but I like your suggestion of especially making sure that when you're first starting a project, having somebody there to make sure that it's being done properly when you have a series of issues will help to go a long way. So thank you for that insight.
30 seconds.
Absolutely.
The mulch is a good suggestion, good example. The guys are still on process of putting mulch. They put down mulch twice a year. They've got X% done. It looks pretty good, but they're covering over all the weeds that they never killed, which according to the contract says they're supposed to address immediately. And they're covering over all these drainage problems where there's been washouts. So if you walk around, you'll see this nice mulch and it all looks kind of even. But buried underneath, there's washouts and you're going to see them again. So that's why Proscape is not doing it. You need to hire someone to go through and do this hand landscaping before they cover it up. I don't see why they can't have a guy with a pressure can of Weed Be Gone and walk around every week. They're supposed to tackle the weeds immediately, but I never see anybody do that. I think, let's look for contract compliance. All right, talked too long. Thank you.
No, you didn't. Thank you very much for bringing it to our attention and making sure that you stay top of mind. So.
You know, this is disappointing on several levels. You know, they're inheriting, where we're inheriting what TCC has failed to do.
Well,
And I think we need to address with them so that in the future, we don't come up again with such things like this in Island Village or the next phase of Spring Lake. Okay, they need to be a little more active and involved in this thing.
It's David Weekley, too.
yeah.
And, well, David Weekley especially, but the two of them have to hold each other's feet to the fire.
Ultimately, it would be the developer that we need to work with whenever the Island Village comes to play. And I know that they are still in negotiations with that. So.
I think that as far as the big picture goes, that's definitely important as we move forward, being part of the conversation, what those plans look like and what's approved. The situations that Gary brought up tonight, those are a little bit different. I mean, the alleyways are being done by David Weekley. Even if we hired someone to stand out there, we don't have any authority over how they do the paving of the alleyways. We are working with Comcast, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in my Comcast update.
Great. Any other comments from anybody? Okay. Can we verify that the meeting was properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Verify quorum?
Yes.
Pledge allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we motion to adopt the agenda, I have a request for the agenda. We had lots of things going on this past weekend and was wondering if we could move board comments from the bottom, where we usually do, to the top of the agenda, so that all of the great things that happened this weekend can be identified before we all go into a big haze. So do I have a motion from somebody, for a motion to adjust
Second.
that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So, approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. ARs, do we want to go ahead and do the board comments right now, or do you want to wait till action items?
Put it up, let's do it.
All right. Who would like to start on the board? How about if we start down that end and work our way through? You good with that? Start with board comments?
I'm sorry?
Board comments?
Board comments? We adjusted the agenda. We're going to do
so-
board comments first so that people don't go into a haze.
Okay, so you want comments on the weekend?
You can do weekend, you can do your action item, you can do whatever you
I would
want.
actually prefer to do the weekend.
Then please do.
And I did attend almost everything for the weekend. And other than I was a little chilled Friday night, it was an absolute fantastic show. I got to take my head off to JR, have to take my head off to all of you who were a part of that. God love you. It was a great, great performance. And let's do that again in 20 years. So.
Maybe 5 years.
Paul?
For me, I'll just add that that really it was the 2 weeks that happened, and what I was really pleased about the 2 weeks is how the foundation and CROA worked so well together, and I think the community saw that and it said, you know, this is seamless. It doesn't look like they're off in their separate things. You know, thanks very much to JR. JR went out of his way to promote the things that were foundation stuff, and Foundation, I think, did likewise to try and help promote things. I got so many comments at the, at the Big Bad Voodoo Daddy concert that, it just felt like, like the first couple of years in Celebration, where it was a community feeling, it was the people in the community down there, and it just, we need to keep this going, and we've kind of been missing that. So, again, thank you to, and, I saw the staff everywhere the whole weekend, so I don't think they got much sleep, so I really appreciate that. That's a lot of hard work.
Great job.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone from JR, Steve, all the way down, the entire staff, and also Gloria and everyone at the foundation. It just, from the Eisner event to the concert, the fireworks, the picnic was amazing. You did the group photo and then the tables disappeared. You know, you're seeing things like, you know, Pete jumping in when they had an issue with the water, and he's handing stuff to little kids, and everybody was just so on and together, and the unity and the teamwork just was beyond impressive. And just as a founder, I was just so proud of, as I always am in the community, but even more proud because it just felt like everything just really clicked and shined. And just can't thank you all enough for your hard work. You must be exhausted, but we're very, very grateful. So thank you.
I thought it was just perfect. I was just amazed the amount of effort the staff put in there. I mean, they were everywhere. They did everything. And then, like Debbie said, you know, here we are in line, taking a big picture out there on the great lawn, and we all rushed in there and get in line for the food. Next thing I know, there's tables already set up. I mean, I can't imagine how quickly they did that. It was just like magic. Everything was perfect, okay? The only thing we need to do is, now that we've got a sense of community here, is keep it going. And I'd like to see another event, maybe in the summertime.
Not in the summer.
Well, May.
Weekend was great, but we're on board comment now, so I'm sorry I have to be negative Nancy. So one of the things with the Comcast report, I was actually going to bring it up if Gary didn't. I went out there and drove around. Two things stand out to me in regards to the Comcast deployment. One is that they are using above ground fiber optic termination, which is not what I thought we were going to do. Smart City, when we made them come in without an agreement, we required them to use subterranean boxes so that you can't see them down the alleyways. You look down and then everything's flat. The way that Comcast has done it is they've used a smaller termination box, which can't fit the entire termination piece in there. And they use an above ground feeder that literally they cut and glue onto the top of the box. So not exactly best practice. The other piece that I'm concerned with there is that when I opened some of these boxes up, which wasn't hard because they were not bolted down, there's just sand in there. Normally when you do this, you backfill them with gravel for drainage. Otherwise, you end up with the problem that Smart City originally had with the copper cabling, that all of the vaults fill with water and then can erode the cable over time. Even though it's a fiber optic connection, you don't want water in there. It's just not good for it. So I think that, you know, my concern is that I know that they're out marking for North Village now. It's gonna get interesting real fast. You know, if they start to speed up this deployment, that I think that they need to take a closer look on how they're doing this. Because what I would hate to get in the situation of is that we do this entire deployment, and then a year from now, they're having to come back in and repair things that have been damaged because it wasn't installed correctly the first time. Likewise, I think that we want to have a minimal invasive nature as we can to the visual aesthetics of the community. So where they can use a larger subterranean box as we required Smart City to do, I think we should ask Comcast to do the same. Just so that we don't have another piece of utility that technically we should be screening at that point in time with some sort of landscaping. The second piece that I wanted to talk about was in the minutes that we just approved for October, it was brought up during the management report that I asked for an update on the status of mulch for the different parks in the areas around. And Steve, I know that I had asked for the listing of parks that we had, mostly because I wanted to make sure that we verified it against the existing contract that we have of Davie. As I've said for 3 months now, the contract states that the areas will be maintained at a minimum of a depth of 3 inches. We have most of our parks that I know were supposed to have been recently touched up that don't have mulch. Flat out, it's sand. I know we had a concern with runoff, but when I drove the parks over the past week, there's a lot of runoff if that's the case, and then we really need to look at that. But I am I am really concerned now that we're just not getting there when it comes to mulch. There is a provision in our contract that states that if there's a failure to provide the service, the association can go out and have someone else come in and do the service for them at a cost to be billed back to the vendor. I think that we need to pursue this for the area of mulch. For us to be able to hire someone to come out with a blower truck and literally do all of the parks in the community to get it up to a proper standard, they could knock it out in, less than a week to be able to do everything. If we're trying to play catch up with doing it either with bagged mulch with the same amount of crew that we likely have, we're never going to get there. I know that we've said that areas have been mulched, and we just did that as it states in the contract was supposed to be done in October, I believe. But it wasn't done in some areas. And if it was done and it washed away, I doubt there was 3 inches there to begin with. So we really need to look at that, and I would be in favor of going out to look at a bid for someone to come in and do these areas for us, because it's just not getting done. Sorry, I'm negative Nancy. So,
You're good. I got my list going. You all set, Eric?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Leonard.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm gonna get back to the weekend. Friday night was great. You had Big Bad Voodoo Daddy there. And in addition to that, I got treated to watch Paul dance.
Whoa.
He jumps
I
high.
we burned that.
Paul, you were really, you had,
jumping was very
I don't have many
high.
talents, but
And Saturday, of course, the barbecue worked well. Everything was great.
Is he?
Again, I went over to JR to complain. I said I have my list of complaints. And then I didn't speak for about 3 or 4 seconds and just watched his face drop down. And then I said, I'm through. And then he got this big smile on his face. And a couple of the other employees around him just started laughing. But as I said right after that, JR, good job.
He gets in event mode, and there's no joking.
He was so tired. He was tired. He was overworked. And I come up to him right as I'm leaving the barbecue, and I go, JR, I might as well get all my complaints out to you right now. And then I just stopped. And then about 3 seconds later, I go, I'm finished. So then he smiled, and I believe it was Carlos, a couple of the other guys just started laughing and said, oh,
You all set, Leonard?
I'm finished.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I had a great time at the weekend for anybody that was out there. It was absolutely fantastic. Kudos to everyone from Town Hall. I saw, it didn't matter what department you were in, somebody was doing something over the weekend. So thank you for putting all hands on deck, literally, for the entire weekend. So thank you very much. It was wonderful. And actually, as much as I know you had some serious issues with landscaping, specifically to mulch, I would like to send a quick kudos because actually every public area where we had an event looked fantastic. Founders Park looked spectacular. All the Lakeside Park, it looked absolutely the way Celebration every single village should look. And that's a lot of work, and I do recognize that, but it did look absolutely spectacular. So thank you for putting all hands on deck to get those areas up and running for Founders Day. I do have, in regards to planning goals update, strategic goals, my goal number 1 with Jack. I did speak briefly with Paige Pierce this week to find out kind of what's going on with Island Village, where we stand, what's happening. And right now, they are on track to give their initial assessment of $12.3 million to the school district on January of 2018. So they are actively in negotiations to continue to find a developer in Island Village. Despite some of the different things that have been going around on Facebook and everything, everything is trending in a timely manner, the way they want, the way they're hoping. So that nothing has been derailed with regards to the school contract or anything like that. And I was at the School Advisory Council meeting last night at the K-8, and currently they have 1,400 students enrolled in our K-8. And some people may or may not know that it is with the school choice that goes into effect, our K-8 is on the list for the school choice. So you can come to our K-8 if you are not a resident. The flip side of that is they're pretty full, but there's specific grades that they have space for. So that was the caveat that Mr. Balone gave last evening was, yes, we are open. So if it's on the box, check box you can do when you're registering for school. It's on there. However, they're full in a lot of different grades, but there's a couple of grades where they could use some in order to finish their hiring and help to spread out some classrooms. So, and once they are in school, regardless if they're here or elsewhere, they have a place. They would never be pushed out for any reason. So that's the update for that. And then Mr. Balone is leaving as principal there, and the school board meeting is tonight. And they're making the announcement of who the new principal is going to be. He's going to one of the middle schools. I'm blanking on which one. Horizon Middle School?
I'm not sure.
I think it's Horizon Middle School. His goal and his family is to progress further in the middle school and actually do curriculum. And in order to do that, he needs to be head of a middle school. So it was his best thing for his career path. So we will miss him at the K-8. He's been a great leader, but I'm sure that they will hire somebody equally as capable as Mr. Balone, because everybody, when he came in, everybody's like, we can't have him. And then everybody loves him, so much like everything else. So those are my tidbits. Any other comments from anybody missed? Does anybody have anything on their strategic planning that they wanted to address that they did not get an opportunity to when they were giving accolades?
I do.
Yes, sir.
So, as part of communications, one of the things that we work on is outbound communications and different things that we have from a public relations standpoint. I actually was approached by a media outlet directly prior to this meeting that I need to talk to JR about, that I'll be referring over to you guys for someone that wants to possibly do a story for the community. They want to come in and do a feature on it. So one of the things that I would say is that this was actually brought to me by another resident that came in and brought this forward. So, there's folks that are out there, these opportunities come up from wherever. If you see something, you see an award that another community wins, or you see another community on a television program, and you think it's a good idea, send it over to us so that we can investigate it and see if it's something, because some of these things you just have to put your name in the hat for. So be proactive with it.
Any other updates for anybody else?
Just real quick on goal number 3, Park and Recs. Just want to thank David again for the survey. We had over 1,300 responses.
Well, I'll do a
12.
report shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do a report. Yeah, he'll do a report on that. And just a lot of great ideas, a lot of good feedback. So thank you.
Anybody else? Perfect. We'll go ahead and move on. Thank you for letting us hijack the agenda to do that. Committee reports. ARC.
That means we have to be quiet at the end of the meeting.
It does. We're done.
Good evening. I have a short ARC update tonight. For the month of October, 82 applications were reviewed, 75 approved and 7 declined. The total is down significantly from prior months. I'm sure people are getting ready for the holidays, rather spend their money elsewhere. The top ARC requests were roofing, painting, and structural for last month. A revised paint guideline was approved by the ARC and is presented to the board tonight for review. Also presented tonight is a new paint palette for celebration. Also on the agenda tonight for your review is a volunteer for the ARC that we're hoping they'll come on board. And I just want to finish by saying that if any residents have any questions regarding the application process, I know sometimes it can seem daunting, or if you're trying to make sure you have everything you need for your application package to submit, please come to Community Standards at Town Hall or reach out to us and we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Covenants? Thanks, Mark.
Good evening. I'm Mark Hayes, volunteer on the Covenants Committee. and this is our report for November. Community Standards continues to conduct routine inspections of the community about every 6 weeks. During the month of October, approximately 1,350 inspections or re-inspections were conducted of single-family homes. 77 emails were sent for minor items, and 64 letters were sent for either major items or minor ones constituting 3 or more. Community Standards continues to email service area owners regarding non-compliance issues resulting from recent service area inspections, as well as educate them on owner versus service area responsibilities. Research is conducted in each service area to find replacement parts and specifications to help owners accomplish their list of maintenance items. At the covenant hearing for this month, which was held last evening, the Covenants Committee reviewed 18 properties with proposed fines. 4 of them were confirmed and 14 were rejected, mostly due to the owners either completing the items or providing a firm timeline for when they would be completed. Yesterday was this year's last covenants hearing, as the committee has elected not to meet during the month of December out of respect for the coming holidays. In lieu of the December meeting, however, we're going to be scheduling a workshop to review the finding procedures and how items are categorized for finding. And I really would urge as many residents as possible to come to that and get a better understanding of what's going on. And hopefully out of that workshop will come a kind of a streamlining, if you will, of what's going on.
What's the date of that?
Have we announced the?
It's December 6th at 6 p.m.
Can you send out an email?
I was going to say, can you just send a reminder for the board? That way we all know too. Thank you.
I'd like to
Sorry.
attend that.
No problem. And as always, a reminder to residents that the inspector is out in the community to help residents. So if you see her and have a question, be sure to stop and ask her for assistance. As always, she keeps reference materials in her nav and may be able to help you. So Covenants Committee topic for November are potted plants and equipment screening. Just a friendly reminder that per design guidelines for landscape design and planning, potted plants are not permitted in landscaping or on hardscape, which is at ground level, such as a driveway or a walkway. They can be placed on porches or porch steps as long as they are maintained with living plants. In addition, AC units, propane tanks, pool equipment, and other equipment must be screened so that it is not visible from the street, alley, or adjacent property. This applies for existing equipment as well as new. With new equipment, an application is needed for ARC review before it gets installed. It's easy to forget this when you might get a new water system and want to install it right away on the side of your house. The easiest way to screen equipment is to install shrubs or hedges around the equipment, but if space is limited, alternative options like short trellises have been approved in the past. The design guidelines for screening material provides some suggestions for plants that are appropriate for screening. As always, thank you to all residents for their continuous hard work, keeping Celebration looking beautiful, and it sure was a community to be proud of this past Founders Day weekend. Thank you. Any questions?
I had a question. This came up when we were over at Georgetown. It also came up, I was just talking with my neighbor on Academy Row, is the issue of door hardware. There seems to be a lot of confusion about what is and what isn't right, whether it has to be completely consistent or not. Are y'all working to kind of clear out and kind of make clear what, what they can do in the service areas? We're talking about townhomes and condominiums regarding that.
That would be more of an ARC thing.
It's Teresa, isn't it, mostly?
That's an ARC topic, and I have broached it with ARC, trying to get some confirmation. There was some discussion about it at the meeting last night. However, I haven't gotten a firm written decision from them. It wasn't in the minutes. It was more from that meeting. It was kind of put on the agenda at the last minute, not on the agenda, but just as a topic. So when I get something firm, I will definitely share that and implement that as we go forward.
Like around is that people have, for the last 10 years, have been kind of changing stuff up, so it's very inconsistent.
Right.
And so it's going to be, what do we do? I mean, do we really stick to the guidelines, which I think require more consistency, or do we allow it? Or and there's some people that want to have more variety. So if we can clear that up so that it's going to be a tough issue, because like I said, a lot of people have made a lot of changes, and to make them go back and change it back is going to be kind
Right.
of tough.
Definitely.
I think part of the problem goes that a condo owner actually only owns the inside of the condo, not the outside.
However, often in condo docs, the owner's responsible for their door. That's usually their door and the window, so everything else is usually the association, but they're
Okay.
usually responsible for the door. And so, for instance, if you were gonna cite hardware, it would be to the owner.
Okay.
Susanna, would that be something that you would just want to work along with Teresa in service areas? Because some service areas may say, I don't want to have individual properties, they want, or individual hardware, they want the uniformity. That's something that is desired by the
Service area.
the service area,
Well, that's
or
one of the
Georgetown, or
things-
whatever.
That's one of the things we've been talking about probably for 6 months, maybe 10 months in the office, is how do we standardize? Because you buy a service area for that uniformity, and you look at Savannah Square and how beautiful all the polished brass is in Savannah Square. They're a great example of, having a certain look, and every type of structure has a particular look to it, door colors. Adam Parrish just emailed us all the door colors that have been approved on Academy Row. So that is something that definitely, it's not something that will happen real quickly, but it's certainly a direction. As we get a little older, we don't want to have people expanding their views, but we want to modernize, Celebration and keep it moving in the right direction.
This is, the codes, the keypads with the codes.
Keypad locks?
They're approved for homes, right?
Yes, they are. You still
And
have to
then-
submit when you change to one, but yes.
Yeah, and then the.
I've only seen a few of them that were denied, and that's because they were awkward or looked industrial,
Okay. And then the doorbell camera thing was also approved.
The video
It's
doorbell,
covered.
yes,
Yeah.
that's been approved for homes.
Yeah, that's good to start.
So yes, we'll be working with ARC on that, I think it's definitely, they've taken an architectural look at that too, but then, we've been getting feedback from residents already as we move through that issue, so I'm sure we'll continue to kind of gather what their thoughts are and incorporate it with the ARC and come to a resolution.
Thank you, Susanna.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mark or Susanna regarding covenants
Thank
or
you.
anything else? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Special events. Woo-hoo.
They're done.
Not yet. No, we need a follow-on.
We got some
Start
stuff
planning the next
on
one,
that.
JR.
You've raised the bar.
I knew he was gonna ask me.
Put your money where your mouth is, right?
What are we getting the feedback from?
Go ahead, JR.
Obviously, I think we've covered the Founder's Day weekend. Just an update on the picnic, we actually served a little over 1,800 people.
Whoa.
So
How many pounds, I'm just curious, how many pounds of meat did we actually give to 1,800 people?
I have no idea.
That is just, that's.
Forget that, how many cookies
But
were given
kudos
out?
to
That
the.
has, well, I would
kudos to
imagine
the camera.
1,800.
That was-
No, because there were a
They
lot of
really
people
did a
taking
great
2
job of
and 3.
keeping up on that demand.
They did,
Yeah,
yeah, I was,
yeah.
and, sorry to hijack you, go ahead.
Right now, we're currently working on finalizing the details, Holiday Fest, which is going to be December 3rd from 11 to 3 here at Town Hall, and then we're doing a holiday movie that night in the Great Lawn as well. We're showing Elf at 6:30. We're currently accepting applicants for the home decorating contest. We'll be judging the night of December 8th. And our next food truck will be December 9th, and the Celebration High School Jazz Band is going to do a holiday show for us.
Oh,
Nice.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's it.
Any questions for JR?
Go to
Good job,
bed.
yeah.
Kudos, extra
Once the
kudos.
paper's done, yes.
Thank you, JR.
Thank you.
Recreation Program Plan Task Force.
My name's David Anderson, volunteer for the Recreation Task Force. I'll be as short as JR. Survey went out in October, multiple reminders, all owners and renters, 1,210 responses completed. 1/3 of those respondents for different questions actually wrote in answers when offered. I think there were 5 opportunities to write in answers. So there's a lot of coding to be done. I'm meeting with Steve on Thursday to talk further about that. The committee met yesterday, 5 of the board was there, to start to look at what the data says. What are the needs as presented by the respondents? How well do they feel that the need is being met? What are their top priorities? What do they use most often? We have data based on youth initiatives and adult initiatives, about 15 each. We asked questions about what would you like to see that you've experienced elsewhere, where's underserved needs, how do you best want to be communicated with? So we are analyzing all of that. It's very rich data. And I think the biggest to-do coming forward, to give Steve a heads up about our meeting on Thursday, is looking at these various initiatives, the 15 and 15 for youth and adults, and to see what is it that we have here, what do we need to make it ideal or to make it world-class, and then that'll help with the committee's decision-making about, oh, that's cost-effective or that's cost-ineffective. So lots of work. I think our next meeting is 2 weeks from now. It's open to the community, and we're at it. So, but I can make the report longer if you would like to. I can read through 45 pages a day. Anyway.
Believe me, we know.
That's enough for now.
I would like to make one
Yeah.
comment,
Say that.
very quickly, David. One comment I'd like to make is I like the fact that you have made sure that this is blinded. That there
Absolutely.
is no resident or anything attached to any of the numbers.
Absolutely. So the data came in, and every potential indicator, some of the things that are buried in an online survey, has totally been stripped out.
So thank you, that
So,
for somebody who's
yeah,
a study.
totally
I love
anonymous.
that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any
David.
questions at this point?
Any other questions?
I know there will be more forthcoming in future meetings.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thank you.
Susan, financial report.
Right. As of October 31st of 2016, we had $2.8 million in operating cash. Accounts receivable was $450,000, which is up $190,000, primarily due to fourth quarter assessments being added to the homeowners' accounts. You'll see that come down in future months. Income was $367,652 and came in over budget by $7,217. You have a variance report included in your packet, and that has all the details for you. Working capital income in October was $27,000, which was over by 9/11, I imagine 40. So we sold 26 homes changed title as opposed to our projected 25. Year-to-date working capital income is over budget by $34,405. Expenses totaled $357,404, which came in under budget by $7,806. All categories except for operational trash and tax expense were under budget. And again, you have details in your variance report. Our reserve cash fund at 10/31 was $3.4 million, and working capital year-to-date is $732,000. We spent $156,443 in reserves this month, and again, the details are on your variance report. Questions?
You gave us the working capital was 752 for this year. What's the total amount in the account?
She said 732.
Oh,
732.
we have let me just look at the financials. We have working capital. There we go. 1.647, $1,647,000.
That's always a month behind it.
Yeah, well, that's as October 31st.
And how much more do we have to take out for the dog park?
We're about halfway paid on the dog park, so we're still around $300,000.
So we're looking at 1.3 million right now, is what we'll have. Okay.
Any other questions for Susan? Manager report, Steve?
We'll start with Comcast this evening. We have our weekly construction meetings. Our last one was held on Wednesday, November 9th. In Spring Lake, all the bores are completed in phase 1 and phase 2. The Comcast is going to work with Larry Buffington at David Weekly to make sure that once they get all the big equipment out of the way, they can start phase 3. And it will be prior to any landscape work going in, so they won't have to tear anything back up and replace it. Over the next few weeks, Comcast is going to be in North Village. They're going to have the locates completed and begin construction. All this work right now in North Village will be in the easements. Comcast is making signs that they're going to put out, kind of pardon our dust type signs. Those will include emails for the contractor that are doing the work, so if there's any issues, they can email the contractor directly. We have put the contractor's email addresses in our Friday Flash, and the issues that Gary emailed me last week have been sent directly to them. So they're not done. They know that it doesn't meet the standard. And the construction manager, the project manager are getting the guys to go back out and make sure that everything is the way it needs to look when they're finalized. They're also developing a communication marketing plan. Part of that marketing plan will be a mailing that's scheduled to go out to all residents in Celebration, just describing a little bit more about Comcast services and the time frame. And then we'll also have all the V-Hubs scheduled to be turned on, and by the end of December for services to be available in Spring Lake. I have taken notes on all the issues that Eric brought up tonight, and I will go back to them and talk to them about the subterranean and the different issues that you brought up. Any other questions with Comcast?
Well, you're also going to talk about some of the landscape issues.
Oh, absolutely. And
Okay.
as we get those, we forward them on. When Trust is out doing inspections, if I see it, if a resident mails it to us, we send that to them directly to their managers. It is the contractor doing the work that's not leaving it the way it's supposed to, so these guys go back and follow
Yeah.
those contractors.
I mean, I think you mentioned it, but I think Comcast should be the people out there supervising that and
I
staying on
agree.
top of that. So they need to have somebody out there.
And if you will, also give the same feedback to CDD, because they have to permit every time they go to the next area.
They do.
So if you're having trouble with them in the first area or two, you need to
Right, push them
To push
make
them
sure
to-
they're doing it before they grant those next.
make sure that those things are all properly finished.
Right. We'll move on to the dog park. We had our construction meeting this week. Paving and drains are set and paving is completed, so I think all the concrete work is done out there. The dog wash, the hose bibs were installed. Final grading's taken place, and irrigation is going to be installed. There's been a slight delay. We had to rework another additional berm that's in the back of the property. It was realized throughout the construction that there was going to be some drainage issues back there. We want to make sure it's right. We don't want any of our landscaping dying. We don't want any standing water on the area. So it makes sense to pause, regroup, redesign that berm, and then get the landscaping redesigned and then move forward. The work that needs to be done to get it addressed all falls within the original $50,000 that was approved by the board for the change order. The only other work that could possibly require a change order moving forward is the requirements from Duke Energy to put in the electric boxes out there, and any movement of those boxes. There's a $10,000 allowance in the contract. If anything goes above and beyond the $10,000, we bring that back to you. But right now, we're still estimating that it'll be within that $10,000. For the crepe myrtles, they were moved from the one side of the park and relocated to the small dog side. So what we have left now, what we're looking at over the next month, is you'll see the fencing start going up. The gate card access will be installed, and then landscaping, site furnishing, the asphalt and the striping will take place, and those are the final phases in the project. Because we're in the dormant season, we're gonna have to monitor the sod, the placement of the sod, see how well it's taking before we open. We can't just immediately open once the sod's placed.
Right.
We wanna make sure that those roots take place and we have a good root base for the pups to go run around and play on the park. So construction is moving right along.
So we're putting in a key card system. Does that mean that we'll have internet access out there as well? Or is that going to come after the fact?
I believe right now it's through the power for the system. I have to check to make sure, but
Yeah, because key card system needs to talk to something. So we need to be able to have either a tin can and a piece of string or something for it to get back here.
I believe
So-
there is internet running up and down there.
Yeah,
It
there's,
needs to be connected to it.
yeah, you could see it when they dug it up, it was right there. But I think we just need to make provision with that. And I think the other piece too is, and this is something we would obviously want to look forward to maybe 2017, is that we've invested a lot in this asset. This asset is going to be behind a large building and not on a main roadway. I think that we need to look at some sort of security for the area beyond the card system. So whether that's a camera system similar to what we've done in the parks, or some sort of a motion light or something like that, in the area. Because, I'd hate for this to, get damaged or something like that, and for us to have no sort of proof, or at least we can determine if it was pigs that got on the field or it was people that got on the field.
I
Well,
think
and the
that's
good
one
thing
thing
about-
you've made a good precedent, because a lot of the other ones you've wanted to put
Mhm.
cameras in all those
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah, I agree. And the good thing about this park is it's completely fenced in all the way around, and it does have the coffee picket fence going up to a
Sure.
certain height to keep anything, any critters coming from underneath.
Armadillo dug under my fence, so.
They
The
can,
guard dog.
they
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
can.
Oh, yeah, they will.
I think we have a fox
He
in
was
one of the houses
crazy,
here in
yeah.
town that's getting underneath someone's foundation.
There were
also.
big footprints out in the East Village this morning.
The bear,
I don't know. I was thinking a big pig.
big pig, yeah.
Will the gate opener will have a special code like you have to do for Spring Lake? In other words, a fitness center there, you
There will
need
be
a,
the ability that once you fill out your registration form and we have all your information on file, then we can turn on that access to that gate,
Gotcha.
much
So-
less the Spring Lake.
So
But they'll
yes.
still,
Yeah.
so do you have to come back in, or that you just turn on the access for their card? In other words, they say, I have card number, blah, 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 and they've sent all their stuff in to you.
Yeah, it's their account, so once we get their account, it's just something we turn on within.
So
the
is-
system.
I had a neighbor ask me that today already.
it's the resident card that's going to activate the.
Your resident card will get you in, so you won't need a new card.
An
but,
extra card.
We are proposing a fee, though, for all the administrative work that's going to be involved in getting this set up.
Yeah,
Sure.
that makes sense.
The next part is the athletic fields. On Thursday, I'll be touring Celebration High School and working with their manufacturer to look at their synthetic turf field that they're installing. Mark with Hanson Water and Associates is going to go out with me also, and I believe Clint Searcy is going to be touring that also. So we'll take a look at how that construction is coming along. We've met with them. We've met with another vendor for synthetic turf, and Mark is implementing that in the overall design. There's also an athletic business conference this week where I can gather some more information on some of the synthetic turf products that are out there. The next step then, I talked to Mark about this yesterday, is to begin looking at approaching the CDD again and talking to them about the extension of the road to the athletic field property. We also want to talk to them about the existing road that we have, the ownership of that road and maintenance of that road. So that'll be, hopefully in December, we'll start having that conversation with them again. And then the last thing I want to say is, since Thanksgiving's next week, we'll talk about what we're thankful for. I've always been a big believer in hiring great people and giving them resources that they need and getting out of their way. And I think what we've seen over this past couple weeks is a perfect example of that. Excellent leaders on this team that are working together, that camaraderie. And they are working a lot of hours and putting in a lot of time, but they're getting the results that they're looking for. And I just want to thank them for all that hard work that they've done. And then the same thing with volunteers. When you have volunteers like David and the folks that are on the recreation program plan task force, they're really helpful with the busy schedules that we have to be able to take that and say, can you help us make this into something that makes sense and something that we can use in our long-term plan. So thank you to everybody, thank you to the community, and happy Thanksgiving next week.
Thank you.
And I have one more thing, just so you know, we should be finished this week with the roofing project at Academy Road, so.
Thank goodness.
Hallelujah.
I have one quick thing, if I may, very quickly. Two groups you forgot to thank is Mark with Covenants and the ARC group. The volunteers on both of those have a very thankless job. I sit in some of their meetings. Sometimes you get angry property owners in there.
No.
That are not quite as nice as they should be. Sometimes despicable, but, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, as the kids say,
But
been there,
they
done that.
they deserve a lot of credit also for everything they do.
Yeah, the Parks and Rec stuff's the fun stuff. Those are a lot of more of the thankless jobs, but hopefully when I say thank you to the volunteers, it means everybody that works with us and all the different committees, and we will do something special at our annual meeting to really recognize everybody that volunteers.
I guess we can move on to action items. Tab 1. Do I have a motion to approve the design guidelines for exterior painting and new paint palettes for the 7 main architectures of Celebration?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Discussion? Oh, absolutely, I'm sorry, please do,
Oh, yeah.
Rick. I'm sorry, thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry, we'll get back to the items in a minute. Go ahead, Rick.
To bring up the communication on that and
Thank
where
you.
we're really at. Right now in the parks, we're in the process of converting from the old mulch to the new brown mulch. What's happening is, we did a test with Todd. It takes 4 times the amount of dollars by labor and disposal fees and things like that to take up the mulch than it is to go ahead and put the mulch down. So what we agreed to right now is that wherever there is mulch that's in decent shape, we are touching it up, and I think we did 12 parks last week. Where there's big areas where it's thin, we're letting it go, because what we want to do is the first of the year, then right after that, go back in and remove the rest of what is there, and there's not as much to remove, so you don't have a cost of the removal, okay? Then we can put in that mulch, and now you're going to be changed over to your brown cocoa mulch that's here. There's a transition phase, and I think that's what people aren't getting the communication about, because I don't think it's really ever been directly said in those words. But that's what's transpiring. Just like if
Okay.
you were to go to Spring Park, I walked that with Todd today, that's our next one. We're getting ready to do that one, clear all that out and do that. So this is saving you guys a lot of money in removal across where we're at. Because I think, I think it's Savannah Square, we took it all out this week. And the amount of time it took to take out 10 inches of mulch that was in that one
Sure.
was ridiculous, okay? So it's just stuff like that. And then I think Long Meadow is the next one. We touched most of that up this week because there was a good amount of mulch in some of the beds. So it just all depends, so we're going around and doing that. And so the first of the year, then, when we start remulching, it'll all be with that cocoa brown mulch that Todd wants to go with. That's the direction I've been given.
Okay.
And if you want it blown in, we'd be happy to blow in all the mulch quickly, too. But there is good and bad at that.
Sure. yeah.
Okay.
I think the frustrating thing for me is that my best gauge is literally the park in front of my house. And it's a park that no one goes to but the residents. So it's one of those that's not going to hit a top list of anyone. No one's really going to see it. But it's one of those that needs to be maintained. And when I walk my son around and we go to the other ones, in the area, the smaller ones, the I guess, high-profile parks are the ones that are the furthest gone in a lot of cases. And so this is the first I'm hearing that we were doing a transition period
Right,
with
right.
the mulch.
That's
So,
correct.
which is fine if that's what we're doing. Yeah, Steve, I think we need to communicate that, so if that's what we're gonna do, we know, because it's hard for me to have a conversation with my neighbor about mulch when he's looking at the park saying, hello, there's nothing there. But it gets back to, I wanna get done with everything. And how long have I been on this board? I'm going on, this is my 3rd year. And I've been talking about mulch at every single meeting. And most every meeting. You're right, I missed some meetings. But I think that, and a lot of that was prior to getting here. So it was, I look at it and I still want a curative date. And I know that if we are going through a transition period, fine. But I guess I would just want to make sure that, okay, this park we're going to wait, and then in January is when we plan that this should be the right date. What I don't want to have happen is that there's still a little bit of mulch left in the park that we're having a labor savings that we want to, figure out on, and that we wait an additional 6 more months that we're staring at sand. And so I think that if there, and Steve, this is, I guess more direction for you, for staff, if there's a cost that we need to pay for the removal of mulch and to get things back to a standard, personally, I would rather the board kind of make that decision if we're going to go against a community standard. Because I would rather spend the money to get it fixed and to at least understand what the cost is before we go through having Eric complain about mulch again. I don't know if I'm the only, I might be the only
Well,
broken record here,
No,
but.
no, no, I think the aesthetic standard that we must keep for celebration has to be there all the time. We can't wait 2 months, or we can't wait 3 months or 3 years to have a standard of aesthetics maintained all the time. That's our problem. We're not having it maintained all the time. And that's also one of the reasons why the community is not looking like it should look, like celebration should look, is what I'm saying, basically.
And I think a lot, to the point, the high-profile parks like Founder's Park and Lakeside all look great. They look awesome. And when I go there, I go, well, Jesus, I know Davy can do it like this, so let's do it like this. And so we need to understand if there's a holdup on our end that we're not, and I'm talking to you now, Steve, if there's a holdup on our end that we're not communicating the right thing to the vendor, we need to address that, and we need to figure that out. And I understand that there's costs in this, and there's that it can be very expensive. And I knew that going into this, it was going to be a big nut for us to swallow here. But we need to figure out, we need a date that this is going to be fixed by. Because I don't want to keep hearing that we're pushing it out by another month or another month. I'm okay if we want to say the end of 2017. I won't vote for that. Sorry, won't support it. But at least then that way we'd know. So I think that that's what we need to figure out.
I think it's important that, as Rick, and I'm gonna talk to him about this after the meeting, but as Rick's putting together his monthly plan for, or monthly report for the board meeting, I would like for stuff like this to be included. I would like to see a schedule of when we're gonna do the mulch. And if the mulch can be done now and it's gonna cost this, let's put it in there and let's talk about it. And then we can decide as a management team whether we wanna bring that forward to ask you for more money, we wanna ask you for permission to wait for a couple months. So, as with any new relationship, we'll continue to work on this communication, make sure that we're talking about those things. Because I think that it's very important to say, here's the scope of work, here's the schedule, here's what hasn't been completed, here's when it will be completed, and here's how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost to do it. And I think that that's what we need. The wins are important. We want to celebrate them. We want to put them in the report and show the pictures. But we also want to talk about what still needs to be done. And we'll continue to talk about that and make sure that's in the report.
Go ahead, just a second, Leonard had his,
Oh.
go ahead, Leonard.
Uh,
Over to you in a second, Debbie.
Basically, Rick, I appreciate you coming to meetings like this, number one. I would appreciate more, I mean, you filled this in after Eric brought this particular item up, but.
Well, I didn't give him a chance to speak, but it was a
No,
important
no,
comment.
no,
So, yeah.
I understand. But I would appreciate more of you coming in and speaking and saying, we've got these 15 parks we're doing this on right now, and you can expect those parks to be done by, January 8th or whatever that date is. That I think everyone would look at that and say that works well for them. There's no doubt Davy got way, way behind, and catch up is never overnight unless you want to pay so many dollars out to catch it up. I mean, enough money, you can catch it up overnight. I understand that part of it.
The only issue we've had, sorry to interrupt you,
Go ahead.
but it's really just talking about the removal of the mulch. It's always been, if we want to remove the mulch right now, and we want to get that done, it'll all be done in a couple of weeks. I mean, I'm just being honest, that's the way it is. We have talked, and between myself and Todd and Teresa, for months now, about how to take care of that part of the issue, because it's so costly. Now I'm hearing, and I would have to say renewed effort, to what I'm hearing, a very positive thing, that we can possibly make that happen. And so that we can get it done very quickly. It's just a case of working that out.
Steve, we need to know how much it costs.
Why don't we already know that? That's what I don't understand.
Well,
I think it's just a communication issue between me and Steve, not Steve, but Todd and them, of bringing it up, to the next level up here, and I think that's where we failed, and I'll take that responsibility.
Well, I think that, again, as we move forward here, what's the work, what needs to be done, how much does it cost? And those are things that we can definitely bring back to you. And we'll continue talking about how we improve. I mean, every time we get done with the meeting, we have a SWOT analysis, we talk about how the meeting went, what we can do better. This is one of those things I think we can improve on.
Thank you, Steve. Debbie, you wanted to say something?
Well,
Go
I just have a
ahead.
question. I know the garden club always does the pine straw, and most of our community standards mulch. Are there certain areas where the pine straw is beneficial and we should have been using that, or what's the?
Why are we changing to that?
No, just that, are there certain areas where the pine straw makes more sense because it doesn't wash away as much as a mulch, or is it just?
Well, the mulch that we're using does float away a
Yeah.
tremendous amount. I mean, even after the storms that we had, we didn't get the full hurricane, but if you went back, you could find total beds gone,
Right.
just washed away.
Right.
And so that's why we're changing to a different mulch, because it compacts, it stays better,
Okay.
because it's
The
smaller
couple
pieces.
shred.
And it's shredded.
It won't
So it
go
doesn't-
away.
It's not as buoyant, so it
You
doesn't
can
float.
see an example of
Yeah,
it out
it
here.
looks
in the-
nice.
Yeah, it looks really
We were-
nice.
We were standing right beside it
Is that what you just put on Long
Heritage
Meadow?
Park,
Is it-
Yes.
Yeah.
No, Long Meadow was, at Sabina Square, we put that down.
Okay. I just saw some
And
on Long
here-
Meadow Playground, too.
But like right outside the buildings, the
Right.
cocoa ground. Yeah.
There's all that, so,
So the pine straw is.
Pine
just
straw was
more-
only used in beds where it's a tremendous amount of pine droppings are going to be, needles are going to come down because it would ruin the mulch. So
Like
you
in Deer
make that a
Park.
permanent
Reserve.
a reserve bed.
Thank you.
That's the only place I know that it's been used.
Leonard, did you have something else you wanted to add?
No, other than, I appreciate if you are coming in every meeting to come and give us a better report on this in December, and for Steve to, again, do the cost in
Well,
between.
this is really the only major thing, our hurdle we got right now, so we got to address that quick, and I
want to
will.
comment just that I do think overall that the community looks as good as it's ever looked, I really do. I do agree with Eric that it's been an ongoing problem forever, is that the less visible parks don't get the attention that the bigger ones do. And if I'd ask Steve and the staff to do is to make sure that as we drive by and go by, that, the small parks get the same attention that the big ones do, because, this isn't just a recent problem, this has been going on. And it went on when I was at CDD, that was one of my main complaints, was the CDD was, and Gerard was not doing as good a job with they were doing good on the big stuff, but the less visible stuff, they weren't doing as good.
Well,
So-
once we get the parks back to where they're supposed to look, I think that the scope handles that. I mean, it's
Maintain
spelled out in the agreement what's gonna be done, when it's gonna be done, which is why I think it's important that we have a report that says, here's what we did, here's what still needs to be done, and here's what it'll cost to do that. And I think we're moving in that direction. The reports have gotten a lot better.
Oh,
The
yeah.
last 2 months, the reports, I think, have gotten a lot better.
And Rick, I think the thing is I know I'm a pain in the ass, but I think that the other thing too is that if,
It's only because you care, though.
yeah, well, it's because I care, and it's also because I can see that Davy can do the work. I mean, we saw the examples of it, that it's been done. I mean, to be honest, if we weren't getting it out of here, Davy would have been gone a long time ago. I would have just said, they just can't flat out do the job, so we need to figure this out. And so I think it's like, we can see that you can do the job, but I just want to understand where the barrier is. If it's a funding barrier or something like that, then we just need to know about it, and we can figure that piece out. And if it's a decision that, it's gonna come back and it's gonna cost us $500,000 to pull mulch, I'm probably gonna say, well, that sand looks pretty nice there, sort of thing. But at least then we know what's up, and I
We have
know
the
that
opportunity
we
to
have
make
the
that
opportunity to
decision.
make the decision.
Well, I
Well,
think
and
you're-
I think we need to do a better job of communicating with the residents too. You have a level of frustration, but you didn't know what was going on. I think if there needs to be some kind of communication, if you put it in the Friday Flash or whatever the case, it says, we're working on,
Even if it's something simple, this park is under renovation.
That worked really
just a
well for the
paragraph.
side replacement. I think we knew. what
Absolutely.
was gonna be
Everyone
replaced.
knew what was
People
going
knew
on.
why it was yellow or brown in certain areas. I think that's great.
Just need to know.
Yeah.
And thank you for continuing to put the blurb in our report too,
Yeah.
management report. That
very
is helpful. It just didn't address your mulch.
Damn
Yeah,
mulch.
no, it did not address mulch this time, so.
Any other questions for Rick?
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Okay,
Rick.
thank
We do
you.
appreciate you
Okay.
coming in.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Tab 1, try it again. I had a motion and I had a second. We were in the middle of discussion on design guidelines for exterior paint and new paint palettes.
Yes,
Susanna, the only change to this, the revision, was just that chart's gone, right?
yes.
Okay.
I thought it added more confusion than
Yeah.
it helped from my discussion.
I couldn't figure it out,
Feedback earlier. Okay, so I'd like to just give you, I'd like to provide just a brief summary of what's going on here, okay? So apropos to the 20th anniversary, this, when the community started, the builders worked weekly, worked with a company called Color Wheel at the time, who was a little local company that worked over on 192. And they came up with the color schemes. Well, these are called black, but for each architecture. And they look like this, and inside it just says Color Wheel, and it has a little sample of paint. And then at the beginning, of course, it has a matrix which tells you which colors you can do for your architecture. And they look like this. I think they're on the website, and everybody's probably seen them. So they went out of business. Sherwin-Williams bought them out. And so for the last couple years, homeowners have not been able to just run over there and get their same color. They've had to kind of go through hoops, and unfortunately, it's not as easy as you think. You just can't go, well, this is the color, and just, I need the formula for every brand that works that way, because every brand wants to use their own color. They don't want to just, they don't want to be anonymous. They want to have their brand out there. So because Sherwin-Williams had done Artisan Park, St. Joe had used their colors, and they bought Color Wheel. They approached us and said, let us do you some new books. So, for free, by the way. So,
We'll charge them to put their name on it. Can we figure that out?
So, we had been working with them for up to 2 years with ARC, Jeffrey Mallon. We go outside, we take paint samples, we look in the sun, we look in the shade, we try to, come up with the best one. We revised the guidelines, and then what we came up with is, this was what I took out, which was basically just a sheet that says, whatever Altamont was, now it's this. Whatever Silver Lining was, now it's this. So I know that kind of threw some things off. Here is the new matrix. It's the same thing we have in our books for resident use now. It's just now it looks prettier, and it has the new colors, and it's all Sherwin-Williams. Now, I want to clarify that if any homeowner doesn't want to use Sherwin-Williams, they don't have to. Same way it's always been. If you take a color, you can go to Benjamin Moore, you can go to Porter Paints, you can go to wherever, and you can get a matchup. But these are real colors now, as opposed to Color Wheel, which don't exist anymore. So, and Sherwin-Williams is a major paint company, which means as paints develop, things change, they will work with you. They'll help us update our books as we go along. So in your packet, this was a sample matrix, but it's just one. I could send you 30 pages of it, but they're all going to look the same. Then the last page, that's okay, is the new paint book. And this is what it looks like now. This is what the new one would look like.
Yeah, looks nice.
Of course, they want their brand on there. I get that. So here's the body, and then here is the trim color. It has the colors. It also has a line on here that says, this is similar to your old color. So if people come and go, hey, I've always been almond puff, I want almond puff, which one is that now? This tells you right there. It has a trim color, it has a shutter color, and then it also has some other options for you. So it's kind of a two-pager, depending on how many trim colors you have, how many shutter colors you have. It's not just that one blob of a body color. We kind of put it all out there for you. So that is what I'm proposing. And we've also introduced up to 3 new colors for each architecture. So between Jeffrey and the ARC, there's 3 new colors for Victorian. I think there's 3 for French, 2 for coastal, just depends. But those are new to the architecture, and it just, I can't say they're pink or purple, but they're different colors.
Oh, I know we got a pink in there.
It's not on the palette, though. So anyway, and homeowners can always apply for something outside.
Yes,
this is
they
just
can.
to kind of, this is to provide some additional options. It's 20 years later, a couple extra options to put in the books, and to create some resident, friendly, user-friendly books that people can use with updated colors. Jack,
You're itching.
go for it.
ahead.
I know
I
he
love
is.
it, but I'm looking at your paint palette on the last page of paint palette. where it gives me the Sherwin-Williams Rockwood Shutter Green. Can't you just ask them to rename that to Celebration Green? Because now we're gonna lose Celebration Green forever.
You can't.
Then we have to pay
Sherwin-Williams
$1,500 to them.
Yeah.
What?
You can't ask Sherwin-Williams to
Yeah.
rename it.
Well,
probably a
Celebration
trademark
Green
thing.
was a custom color
And
that never had like a,
A real.
a real number.
it was our
Now, we do have a
community.
PMS for like when we use paint on the light posts and things like that. There is an actual PMS for that Celebration Green, but the actual color on the doors isn't anything. But you're asking, can we create one?
He would
no,
like
no,
that to be
ask him to
called
ask him to rename
Celebration
it
Green.
Celebration Green.
I'll ask, so Sherwin-Williams, I'll see.
Yeah.
I'll see.
Rockwood Shutter
Just tell him
Green.
it's for our 20th anniversary, right,
Yeah,
Jack? Does that work?
absolutely,
Okay, there
absolutely.
We'll
we
do
go.
a press release, right, JR?
Any other,
Definitely on top.
any other questions for Susanna regarding tab 1?
The only thing that I did want to add on this is that I did get only one comment from a resident on using Sherwin-Williams, and I just want to reiterate what Susanna said, that you don't have to necessarily use them. I didn't. We went in, we got a paint color match, brought it to ARC. ARC said, looks like the same color, you're good to go. So just because that's what we're using. And the other piece that I'll say here is that, for instance, the door color that I have on my Craftsman home, Sherwin-Williams doesn't make anymore. However, guess what? They keep a record of everything since they're such a big company. They have it. And so I was able to walk into Sherwin-Williams, and they said, oh, yeah, that's an old formulation. Here's the formulation. Here's what it is. Here's what it matches to. And they were able to give me the paint chip for free that I then took to Lowe's and had them match, So it was kind of like, there's a benefit there to using a larger paint manufacturer such as
Well,
this.
you could also, to that point, go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or anything and say, could you please match Sherwin-Williams color number 7738? And they go, yes, click, 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 done. You
Yeah.
don't even have to bring in a paint swatch, you
wow.
just have to give your number.
You just- if you have
Yeah,
the
and I
number.
also want to say that you don't have to go back to ARC if you're using a different brand. All we know is that we have given you approval for Sherwin-Williams Ancient Marble.
Right.
What you put on your house has to look like Ancient Marble. So that, that's all we look to check. We don't look to see actually what brand you used.
Any further discussion with regards to design guidelines? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Susanna.
Vanessa, before you move on to the next
Yay.
one.
Yes.
This isn't as sexy as Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, but Susanna has worked very hard on this. This has been a goal of hers for a while.
Even though
I'm
it says
very
Sherwin-Williams all
excited.
over the place, it should absolutely say Susanna. all
Very
over it.
excited, and we're also working with them. Once, of course, this has to go out to the homeowners with the rest of the guidelines, which will be going out for 30 days' notice. If a majority of the residents don't oppose it, it goes into effect, and then we'll have them make the books. Sherwin-Williams is going to put the colors on, there will be a link to put them, where you can view them on the website. It'll have our own association name. You can go on and see them that way, which is great for homeowners who are out of town.
Sure.
That's great.
Great.
Good job.
And they get
Awesome,
the
thank
rest-
you. We appreciate all that.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion, tab 2, do I have a motion to appoint Brian Halter as to the ARC?
So
Motion
moved.
to approve?
Second,
So I think I heard motion from Debbie and second from Eric.
sure.
Discussion?
Incredible qualifications. Wow, I don't know where you guys found this guy.
Yeah, I just know,
Another one of our ones.
Friend of a friend would take
It
him.
was worth waiting for.
I just know one thing, he doesn't live in Celebration.
They don't have to.
No, he doesn't
Yeah.
have to, no, but just hope it doesn't create a situation where he gets tired of driving here all the time.
Sinkasimi.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we'll make sure to dock his pay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tab 3, motion to move forward with Sienna litigation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Tim, second from Jack. Discussion.
I think,
I would just clarify that you all saw the letter that came in recently from the attorney and those items that were raised. I wouldn't say that the situation, that my take on the situation that they're bringing up is the same as far as the questions. Obviously, this has been ongoing since 2012, so we're expecting the highest quality for the residents that live there as far as landscaping and satellite. placement. So to that end, there's been a lot of communication going forth on these issues, and, we will continue to, if, however we need to.
Go ahead, Steve.
Just one more thing
Yeah.
for discussion purposes. This is since the October meeting, I believe, we brought this up, and we've reached out to them on multiple occasions to try and just meet, just the two boards meet together, and they're insistent on, if that's gonna happen, attorneys be involved. So while the motion may say, move forward with Sienna litigation, the other choice that they're throwing out there is, let's have the attorneys, let's get back together, let's meet, and let's talk about these outstanding items. And you all had a chance to read their letter from their attorney. I talked to Jose today again, just to kind of reinforce that we just met with Georgetown, and the meeting went very well, and we think that it could be positive. If we're gonna pay for attorneys, the settlement agreement says that the next step is litigation. I think there's an opportunity there to do it without attorneys and to try and talk it out and see if there can come to a resolution. We got a reply late this afternoon that he's reached out to his board. Only one person could talk to me, and they couldn't talk to me until tomorrow.
I think that we've just, for the interest of clarity, and no one likes to get to this stage with anything, as Steve and Susanna mentioned, we've done a lot with this to try to, agree. And I think that, for residents that might just be catching up now, when they see the term litigation, sometimes people then pay attention and they look at it. There have been multiple attempts to meet. There's been ongoing litigation, ongoing discussion with covenants, ongoing mediation agreement. I mean, this isn't something that necessarily happened overnight. And I think that, I personally, I want to thank management and Susanna for dealing with this whole time, because we've been a pain about it. I know I have. Rick got off easy with mulch in comparison with what I think with Sienna and mulch, because guess what? They don't need to remove any of it.
There's nothing
There's
there.
nothing there. So I think that we've all gotten to the point that we don't have any other option. And following the mediation agreement, I think, is the key here. We're doing it by the book. We're doing it the way that we're supposed to. And, that's why I'm going to support this tonight.
Put up or shut up.
Any other discussion from any other board members?
I just want to add that, I've probably been as, fighting this as much as anybody. I hate to see this happen. The attorneys are the ones that end up, but really at this point, I think we've just bent over backwards, and I can't see any other thing but going ahead with this. So I do support it now.
Anybody else? Any other comments? Go ahead,
I've just
Senator.
got one quick one here. I do want to commend Georgetown for meeting with the board without attorneys last week. Came to sort of a gentleman's agreement on their finishing up. And I wasn't at that meeting. I understand that the board said, this all sounds good, and we'll add another 6 weeks or something like that onto it. So, that's your drop dead date to have it done, or then you're gonna have to face a different tune, I guess. And this just hasn't been done from Sienna. I don't know if, the other thing I wanted to mention also is PJ's out in the audience, and I don't know if she would like to speak on this during our comment. We can call on someone under our board rules.
That's
Would
why
you
I
like to
said, are there
speak?
any other board comments?
Oh, thank you. I didn't know if you were going to do that next.
I'll second the motion to recognize PJ from the floor.
Thank you. PJ Cartwright, 1000 Via Capri. I would just ask that if the board takes this action, that they as a board notify the owners. We do have an annual meeting scheduled for, I think, the 15th. It's the Wednesday of that week, 15th of December, 16th of December. And I just think it's important to quell any what's the word I'm looking for? To quell any rumors that may be in the neighborhood about what's happening. And I'm sure that the board would be able to clarify their position and why they feel it necessary to take this action and what they expect what they're asking the outcome to be. If it's to hold to the letter of the mediation, whatever. We do have, as many know, it's not a community that has a very high percentage of full-time residents. We also don't necessarily have a very high percentage of part-time residents. We have a very high percentage of rentals, long-term rentals in that community. So we do, however, have had in the last 36 months or so, a number of new owners in the community that are wondering why we're where we are, don't have the backstory, don't know the history, and so it would be beneficial, in my opinion, that a letter of explanation come from the CROA board to the owners so that they don't have to rely on any rumors in the community. Thank you.
Great,
Thank you,
great
PJ.
idea.
May-
Thank you, PJ.
Go ahead, Leonard.
May I finish up on that?
Yep.
We had spoken about this in a prior meeting to notify each and every Sienna owner of the facts and circumstances which have brought us to this date. And I think we should notify both of them by both letter and email, because we should have all their email addresses. That gets it to them 2 different ways. Anytime you send something out, you're gonna get a certain percentage of, I've never got that letter. If you send it out 2 different ways, that's as good as you can do, probably. That will, again, quell any rumors as to what's happening or why it is happening.
Well, and the absentee landlords need to know what's going on their properties, and they probably don't at this point.
And
I'm finished.
the key thing for me here, though, is PJ, to your comment, we have part-time residents or rental residents or whatever. There's one term that's synonymous with all this, and that's the term resident. Everyone's a resident. I don't care if you rent, I don't care if you whatever. You came into this community for what you're doing. We are the owners association, but we have a responsibility to everyone that lives here in order to be able to maintain that.
Anyone else on the board have a comment? Steve, anything else for you?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second to move forward with Sienna litigation. I know, Leonard, you you just raised some specific requests with regards to notifying each specific owner on the circumstances. Do we want to include that in our motion?
I would amend my motion for that, to make sure we contact all Sienna owners with regards to the circumstances surrounding the litigation and moving forward.
By email and mail, so we can vote.
Email and mail, yeah.
I'll second the amended motion.
Thank you, Eric. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
This one's more
I
fun.
would say that stinks, actually.
That really stinks.
That is, yeah,
Yep.
that's not what we want to do. Tab 4, motion to approve the dog park rules.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Eric, second from Jack. Discussion. Yes, discussion.
I think we've got just some corrections.
Yes, I do want to add that for discussion purposes. There are some grammatical errors and some spelling errors
Yeah.
that have been pointed out to me. I will make sure we get in and clean all those up and fix those. So if there's any content changes,
Leonard, I don't know, I know this is something that's one of your hot buttons. Did you get a chance to get with anybody regarding the edit suggestions that you had?
Not at this time, and this indeed is just going to be at the opening. If there's problems, is anything here going on a large sign we're gonna put up or anything like that?
no. At this time, this is just our handout.
So-
We'll probably do hours of operation.
So no, if something needs to be changed
Okay.
down the road, then we
You're
can do
good with
that.
it.
So I don't have anything to change other than the grammatical corrections that need to be changed that
Been identified.
have been identified.
Any other comments, questions?
I just had a question. Did we run this by the insurance agent, just to make sure this was a good release?
Yes, and it was,
Lou liked it.
that's what it needed to be.
Okay, good. Anybody else? I have just more of a timing question. For all of the health certificates, all of the documentation that owners are supposed to provide to Town Hall in order to get their key activated. When are we going to start doing that? Are you gonna wait until you actually open it and then have a big rush? Or are you gonna try and work out some of the kinks earlier to try and have a little smoother, oops, we forgot to add this, or oh, we forgot to add that kind of thing?
Yeah, over the next week, this will be one of my projects that I'm working on, is working on an implementation plan, and I'm gonna get with Dora and talk to her a little bit about where they're at with the pavers and the different legacy donations. But this will be part of that conversation,
Okay.
getting this implemented.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Tab 5, motion to approve the 2017 CROA budget. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion from Debbie, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Tim. Discussion.
Hallelujah.
Yeah,
I was going to make a treasurer's comment, since I have the esteemed position.
You're the
being
treasurer, Paul?
You were
I am the treasurer,
the
I
dubious
know.
position that you were in.
I'm
Go
the
ahead.
cheapo down there. So I just want to make a comment that especially on the positive side, a lot of positives with this, that we were able to keep the assessments at the same level. The real positive too is that we really, when the previous board set this fee to do our capital reserves, to build the dog park, to build the soccer fields, we had promised the residents that it would include not only the $911 fee, but also the savings from paying off the mortgage here, which is $310,000 a year, and then the apartment fee, which I think is about $250,000 a year. Last year, this year in the budget, we did not do that. We had kind of dipped into the, into the $310,000 by about $130,000. But for the next year, we've done a couple things. Next year, that we are fully reserved, as we promised the residents. Also, because we had significant savings this year, we have gone back and fully reserved for 2016 as well. So our reserves are in great shape. We really need to keep that going, because if we want to move ahead quickly and build first-class facilities, we need all of that money in there. The other positive on our operating reserves is that, and Leonard spent, I think, 3 months going through that study, and the operating reserves were increased by over $100,000 a year. So I think the residents can feel very good that our reserves are in very good condition to do what we need to do to maintain the community as a 5-star community.
Yep.
And I do want to thank Leonard, especially on the budget. Leonard, not only on the reserve study, but the budget, Leonard really dug into it and spent a lot of time. And it's great to have a board member to get really into the detail and to look at things. So I really appreciate Leonard for that. The only negative I would say is that one thing that I know I had hoped was that we've really sort of been doing things the same way for 10 to 12 years. And that I would really like us to look at our processes to see if there's some ways that we can do things differently, more efficiently. We may come back and say no, but I think it's worthwhile looking at everything. And I think the board and Steve has made a commitment that for next year, we're going to take a harder look at that. And so we'll be looking at doing that next year. So those are my comments.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, well, I think starting earlier would be a huge benefit, because I think we got kind of down to the wire on it. We're looking through some things, and yeah, it's
Well,
some more time.
we first started in July. Wasn't our first meeting? When was our first meeting?
Well,
We started in July.
Yeah, so you guys started in July.
We didn't really, delve into it till more recently, so I think starting in the summer.
Yeah, I think an
would be
earlier
good.
board involvement is
Participation.
probably.
Yeah, it's earlier.
So you guys need to start on the budget.
Well, Leonard's
In
offered some
In
good
January.
suggestions and taken some existing templates and looking at anything that can be historical. Start looking at, like Paul has brought up, any process improvement, if there's any savings there, and having that ready to go in June so that we can at least have a base budget to start working off of.
Right, and also just, it wasn't something where we just went across the board. There was a large, I think about an 8% savings from last year from operating expenses, so it's not like we're cutting corners. I think we're able to really look at this as a good, solid budget, and we have the funding we need to move forward.
We can buy some mulch.
We can. Yeah. And to Paul's point, Leonard had really dug very deeply into the budget. The flip side of it is it also required a lot of work on Steve and Susan's behalf and the staff. So thank you very much for making sure that you delved in and got the answers to his questions so that we could make better decisions as a board. So thank you for your efforts too.
There's still more numbers coming, but.
Okay, on that note, I call the vote.
Call the question.
Oh, wait. One more thing I have to say is that that I'd like to have a template made up by June this next year, and kind of everyone on board as far as we have some changes, we need to call things different things and different names by some of these accounts that are very confusing, just the way they call them. I'm also trying to put together between now and the end of the year a bit more of an explanation than what's here in our budget right now. So someone that wants to go online can look at it and say, how did they get that number? What does that consist of? How many employees do we actually have at Town Hall that are full-time employees? All those numbers would be out there in an area that can be accessed by the residents. It's not done yet because we got down to the budget too late this year to get all that out beforehand. But once I get some of that done, that will actually bring a template forward to next year that we can work off of going forward, I think.
Okay.
I hope so. And I hope Jack will help me because he seems to like Excel spreadsheets also.
Love them.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Budget passed. Now a motion to approve the 2017 CJC budget.
So moved.
Second?
Motion from Jack, second from Debbie. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Tab 7. Motion to approve 8 of the 10 2017 service area budgets as presented and reviewed by the ownership in the town home service areas, with the exception of Academy Row and Blue Sage.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Tim, second from Jack. Discussion.
You know, I guess that one question I was talking to my neighbor, and he said that, like Academy Row, all the, and I think that includes Meeting House, doesn't it?
Yes,
Is that
it
one
does.
service area? So for a meeting, they had 2 people showed up, and that's all they can get to show up.
2 residents.
2 residents showed up. You know, it's really,
Considering your size without the.
yeah, well, no, but this was for the budget. They're basically, they're like,
It's our budget.
huh?
No, I'm just saying it's.
Well,
hard.
to me,
Yeah.
see, for me, the service area, that's really, I mean, that's their money.
Yeah.
And they need to be the ones on top of it, and we vote for it, but it's like, I really, to me, it's more up to them. It's like, if they think that's a good budget, you know, I don't know what is necessarily a good budget for them, but I don't know how we get more involvement by the service area residents, because other than that, you're really not getting, I mean, it's, you know, pretty much you're not getting a lot of oversight of these budgets. I mean, that's,
Well, we
That's
do
happening
mail
too.
them out to every owner. They don't get a postcard, you know, they don't just get a postcard. They get them mailed out. They have the opportunity to contact us, and many owners do contact
Yeah.
us, and we deal with them individually. A lot of them just don't want to come out to
Yeah.
a public meeting.
yeah, I'm not
And
blaming
that's
y'all.
okay.
I'm not blaming you or the staff.
No, no,
I'm
absolutely.
frustrated that more people don't get involved with that, because,
Susan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I don't see anything to indicate any increases or year-over-year
There-
increases.
I believe, other than Academy Row,
Okay.
and Meeting House Green, that had a decrease of about 15%. I want to say it was 15.3%. Everyone else either stayed static or had a slight increase that we are presenting to you. There are a few that are going to have a little bit more of an increase, and we're working to make sure that they have all the information that they need and that they have
Well, a little bit more of
meetings.
increases, how much?
Well, like 15%, 18%.
That's done a little bit more. That's a lot
Yeah, that's a little
more.
bit more than 1, 2, 3%.
Yeah.
So,
We're in the
what-
meetings where the raises, where the increase is a little bit more.
mm,
what was the participation during the meetings?
Well, we actually haven't had those meetings yet.
Okay.
One
Those
of
are the
them
two
will be
pendings?
coming up, we've just scheduled them and we've just finalized the budgets. There's actually 5 of them. We've got Meeting House Green and Blue Sage. Blue Sage had a small increase. Meeting House Green and Academy Row, who had 2 residences, had a small 15% decrease. But their concerns are more related to the fact that they feel like CROA, just because the reserve study says paint needs to be done, doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be done. And that's something that we take into account. We actually go out, we hire an engineer, they go and they look at the roofs and they say, well, this roof doesn't have to be replaced this year, this can be replaced next year. So it's not just blind doing the capital items.
Yeah.
I think my question is more the ones that we're voting on tonight, the eight that we're voting on tonight.
Mhm.
Because the ones you cited were like Academy Row and Blue Sage, we're not voting on
Right,
tonight.
right.
So the ones we're voting on tonight that have increases, the meeting, were there any that have not yet had their meeting?
No.
Okay, so.
Everybody had
So
their meeting.
everyone that is in front of us now for approval has had a meeting.
They've had the opportunity to meet with
come in.
us, and some of the owners have reached out individually.
Okay, go ahead, Leonard.
A question I do have, well, something I'd like to see next year on here would be if you can, wherever you have increases, well, never mind, you don't have to have it. I'd like to see the 2016 assessment and the 2017.
Okay.
So you can look at it and we'd be able to do a quick percentage in
Absolutely.
our head and say, oh, went up by so much. The second question is, what was the major cause for the increase? Was it things were wearing out faster and the reserve study showed that, or not enough put back for other maintenance, or I mean, I guess I should just give that to you rather than keep
Right.
naming things.
Well, a majority of it is that now that we're having more irrigation leaks because the trees are getting bigger, you know, those kind of things as we mature. And certainly, we're coming to the point where we have to have those capital items done, and we find that, you know, like for Meeting House Green Academy Row, we were trending about a 20% overage with the chimneys and then the fascia issues that we had at Meeting House Green that we also carried over to flashing and counter flashing, that we also carried over to Academy Row. So they have adjusted their pricing based on that. Because we can expect if they do X number of dollars per square, or however they calculate it, that if we're trending on our very first roofing project a little bit higher, that it's gonna be a little bit higher. So that's one factor. The other factor is that, you know, now that our trees are getting more mature, we have acorns, they need to be pressure cleaned more often, they're shadier, so the building has to be cleaned more often. Gutters need to be cleaned more often, those kind of operating expenses, which the owners know about because they're the ones who are saying, hey, I need to be pressure cleaned twice, not just once a year. And so we're accommodating them as we go. So historically, the operating side of the budget is built based on historical data as well as what we anticipate will need to be done. Like as we get closer to a roofing project, we know that our roof repairs are gonna go up. And I think there's one in particular that went up from, where is it?
You trying to pull?
I don't know.
You
I'm
trying to
trying to
imitate me?
pull Leonard.
Come
I don't know where it is,
Well,
but it went up from $1,500 to $5,000. They're scheduled to have their roof done in 19, and so we know historically that they're gonna have more roof repairs.
Okay, basically what I've heard out of everything you've just said is that these increases for this year have increased some of the operating budgets up enough, most likely to take care of those things.
Absolutely.
And to take care of the rising costs of materials and labor for some of the repairs that they need.
Right.
So it wouldn't be, we shouldn't look to next year and say, gosh, this association that got, or I'm sorry, this service area that got a 10% increase this year, should be pretty flat next year.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and all the reserves are fully funded. That's the other thing, that for every single budget that's here, the reserves are fully funded based on the reserves, the 2016 revised reserve study.
Okay.
And I can't say that, based on the reserve study, that we still don't have the final out
We
yet.
don't have the final, but I
But-
think the preliminary is pretty close to the final.
But they go through and estimate everything up through current, with trying to use current day costs. But when you need a roof 5 years down the road, we only factor in, I think, a 2%
Bless you.
increase
Right,
on those
right.
factors. And sometimes they go up by 7 or 8%. And there's no way to know what's going to go up and what's going to go down during that period.
And just so you know, the holdups, I say the holdups, but the concerns with Academy Road, Meeting House Green, and Blue Sage were, they have paint due next year. And so they have some questions, and we're gonna take the time to research, answer the questions, because you're right, Paul, this is the owner's money, you know, and we wanna make sure that we're doing our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that their money's spent to preserve, protect, enhance, and maintain the assets.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tab 8, motion to approve the 2017 Artisan Park Service Area Budget. For the motion.
So moved.
Motion from Jack, second.
Second.
From Tim. Discussion.
Someday, someone will be able to explain to me why we have a service area committee for Artisan Park, yet we don't have a service area committee for any other service area. Yes, Susan.
Okay. Artisan Park service area is the cafe. So basically, it's a cafe, the cafe operation, which is a very specialized amenity for all of us. So because only the residents of Artisan Park are allowed, can come and use the facility, and they have the pool as well as the field across the way. That's why they have a committee. Mainly, I would say a lot of their focus is on the actual cafe operations. They have a general manager, that's why they have, somebody who specializes. By the way, we have a new general manager, his name is Gary, and he's awesome, so.
And you don't have
And
to do it
it's-
anymore.
Yeah.
And it's written in their supplemental document.
Yes, it absolutely is.
So when do you retire from your second job?
I've already retired.
I think I get why they have it. It's a loaded question. Because I think that there is, instead of us having to try to hunt for homeowner participation in some cases, as other members of the board had said, we only had 2 people that showed up to one of these meetings. I know that there are some service area folks that are very active, and they do keep up with this sort of thing. And I would love for them to be able to bring forward recommendations on their own, rather than us always have to rely on management to figure it out. And I don't know if that creates more work for management or less work for management. That it's just something that I think that I would be curious to look into. Because if we have people that would want to get together and chat about something and then provide a recommendation to us on how to spend their money, I'm all ears, for something like that.
Parkview does that, don't they? They have some
Very
representatives
active.
that are active.
Parkview?
And I think Savannah
Parkview?
Square does also.
Parkview service area in Savannah
okay.
Square.
Does, is it a vote, is there election for the?
Yes,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
December 6th.
It's the
Yeah, I
voting
mean,
that's taking
yeah, to
place
me,
right now.
and maybe, like Spring Park, I mean, to me, that area makes sense to have, like Artisan Park, because, you've got a large number of people there, and, some people may have different ideas about what they want done.
Spring Park or Spring Lake? I'm
Spring
sorry.
Lake, I'm sorry, Spring Lake.
Okay, I just
And
wanted to
so,
clarify.
You have an election, and then you ferret out, well, this seems to be the prevailing mood in the community to do either more or less. Like at Savannah Square, I don't know how it all evolved, but Savannah Square, they decided to go whole hog and go crazy, and build, really do a nice landscaping and all that. Now, if I'm in there, it seemed to be driven by 1 or 2 people. There might have been people in there that didn't want to spend. I think they spent a lot more money than other service areas, right?
And you're correct, there were some.
Okay, So, when that's happening, having an election, actually having a vote, and then you get the will of the people, whatever the people are there,
right.
then, it's more clear, but,
I think St. Joe wrote those supplemental documents specifically to address that unique village within Celebration.
but Spring, like Spring Lake, you've got how many people are there? How many homes are gonna be over there? 260, yeah, I mean, that's
It's a big area.
That build up.
Well,
a big area. I mean, and I feel bad. I'm sitting there kind of making decisions for an area of 260 people that, it could be significantly increasing or decreasing the cost to live there.
one of the things last night that came out of our service area budget meeting was Mr. Adam Parrish's father, Mr. Parrish is what I call him, suggested that in the past, there was a community manager here who met with the various service areas and would go and sit out in their park and just talk to them about how things were going, what they wanted to improve, not officially their service area manager, the person responsible, but just kind of create that dialogue. And I thought to myself, and I actually told him, I thought that that was a really interesting idea, to meet for coffee, and I bring a thing of Dunkin' Donuts coffee down there, and we just sit and have coffee and talk early in the morning or later in the afternoon, to get the feedback from the people who actually live there, rather than just having the opportunity once. Now, I will tell you that they contact the service area manager on a regular basis, and I hear from a lot of people as well, just because I've gotten to know them throughout my time here. So I think that's an interesting idea and something that we certainly should
Can we recognize?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Gary?
since we're on,
Service areas.
Spring Lake has been specifically identified, if you could
I
come
move
up.
to recognize the member from the audience.
Second.
Thank you.
Gary Hudspeth again from Spring Lake. At the risk of alienating a lot of people that may be watching this video in the future, this is one person's opinion, please. I don't speak for Spring Lake or any other people that you saw there. I'm all for democracy. However, if you create a bureaucracy that what do we call these communities? Villages?
Villages.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you create a bureaucracy of villages like Artisan Park, you will have political mayhem that you don't have yet. Now, that's just my opinion, okay? I like, Suze, your suggestion, and I'm gonna make another recommendation, of having get-togethers informal, like when you all came out to Spring Lake back at the end of the summer, and you talk to people and you come to a consensus, rather than create a bureaucracy where you require us to elect people and then have arguments. And to be honest, and here's my offending comment, we elected you to do that. I don't want to elect another body to go through this bureaucracy. I apologize, that's my opinion, but I want you to do your job. Now, here's my recommendation. Hire more service area managers. Poor old Teresa is just too busy, and she's a good person. But you need more people to look at the contracts, be on site to manage the contracts, and then think into the future like you do now. You, Susan, you and Teresa do a great job, but we need more staff to assist in the service area projects, and then you'll get your answers and you'll have feedback because they'll have time to go out and visit with the communities. I hope you understand me.
I do. Thank you for your
you.
insight.
Thank you. I was also going to make one other comment, and that is that my time, my 2 months that I spent out at Artisan Park, one of my goals, and I've made it very clear to that committee as well as to, and they're not a board, they're a committee that operate under CROA. I've made it very clear to everyone that all of us is smarter than one of us. And so we've got to come together as a group to solve problems. In the past, the committees have in part wanted to operate independently and not have CROA's hands in everything. It's their money that they're spending, their $92.50 a month or whatever the number is. And they absolutely should have the right to speak about whatever they want in their community. But I think that if we can get them to kind of integrate here with every other, I'm gonna call them sub-associations, but every service area, every little entity within town, that we can all operate together and we can all come together, I think we'll be way better off as far as community goes. In fact, how many people did you see out at the Founder's Day celebration from Artisan Park? It was really amazing. I know those people from spending nights out there. And I thought that's all it takes is an invitation to join us, and they are there. And
We got the
that's
sled
great.
dogs out and we came down all the way down the road, you know,
I
it
know.
was a long trek.
Okay,
I
so we
believe-
have, go ahead.
I believe the service areas that form committees in our documents, and again, it's been a year or so since I've read this. If they do form a committee within there, there's a 75% rule in there somewhere, where if 75% agree to doing X, then X will be done for the 100% of the houses.
Right.
Did I get that rule right, or?
Yeah, you've
Okay.
got that rule right. The committee can't make a decision for all of the people to add an amenity or take an amenity away or do any major changes.
Well, but I'm talking about the smaller ones, even like campus, the townhouses and the townhomes and everything fall under that same rule, I believe, also. That to go through and
But they
do-
just don't have, the supplemental documents for Artisan provides the committee with some governing powers, then where they can vote and they can do, but they can't make changes to amenities without getting a vote of the rest of the service area.
And then of course, us being the master association for them.
Right.
Have
You
to
ratify.
ratify or
But
approve
they are a
that.
very unique service area. There are no other service areas like that with a governing body.
Thanks, Joe, for that one, huh?
Any further discussion with regards to Artisan Park service area budget?
It's supposed to be a retirement area, that's why.
Do I have a motion to, or we already have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, tab 9.
Sorry.
That's, no, we're all good. Motion to approve the engagement of Cole & Associates to audit CROA in the amount of $10,900 for 2016. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion from Jack, second from Tim. Discussion.
Can I make one comment real quick, is that what I'd like to see is that for the auditor to contact the treasurer before the audit starts. And that's been my experience with every other organization. And so they get a feel for, they would typically ask, are there any issues, any things you want us to look at? What would you like us to take a look at? And then they do the audit, and then they come back and first present, they can then present to the board, but at least there needs to be more dialogue between the board and the auditor. This last time, it just seemed like, the audit showed up and it was like a done deal, but
The auditor meets with us, actually probably within the next couple of weeks, once these will be signed. So for this process, we'll just make sure Paul's invited,
Okay.
and then we'll leave the room,
Perfect.
and that way the auditor can talk to
Okay.
the treasurer.
Perfect.
okay.
Did
Or-
you,
Go ahead.
sorry, did
Go
you
ahead.
guys look at the cost difference between the three different, on all of the items?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
We got three bids.
Three bids.
for
They're all
the-
they're all in the
Yeah.
tab.
Yeah.
Three
About
different companies.
$1,800 difference
Yeah.
between the
Lowest.
Ron and the low bid.
Yeah.
And then the second, the high bid is significantly higher.
But there's three different bids we're gonna be making tonight. Three different approvals. One was for the audit, the other one's for CCS, tax
PROA,
return.
CJC, and CCS.
Can I say something? One thing is that I do believe it's best practice not to change auditors every once in a while to get new eyes on it, at least every 5 or 6 years. Do you know how long have we been with this auditor, or?
Forever. I
It's
don't,
been a
Well-
little while.
over 10 years, at least, maybe. Has it ever
Go back and
changed?
look.
I don't think so. I think it's what,
It's been
I think
quite a
that's what
few
the
years.
Disney
It's hard
company
to
used when
find
they
a
were here.
good association auditor, though, community association auditor.
Well,
Did you
It's
guys
a-
get bids for
I
It's
that?
a
understand
specialty.
that, but that was my question, is usually 3 to 5
It's
years. you
it's
wanna
kind of a
take
specialty.
Are there no other audit firms?
We're gonna get a
Well,
quick, Susan's gonna address this real quick.
I'm the president of Community Associations Institute here locally, and so I went out to actually I had our shared service center go out to 4 firms that I have dealt with personally over the years And all of them are reputable auditors that I think would do a good job for us. The reason why we recommended Cole and Associates is, one, they've been doing the job with us, and so there becomes some knowledge, intrinsic knowledge of our community from the year over year over year of looking at our financials, as well as they have trends that a new auditor isn't going to have. And I will tell you that the lowest bid is a very good audit firm. So we won't go
Yeah, I mean,
wrong
that's
either way.
always the argument, but really what's happened, from across most companies and whatever is that, they really want to see new eyes. And they recognize it takes a year or so. The first year is a little bit more work for you guys, it's more work for them. But you really need to have new eyes looking at, and if it's been over 6 years, then I would definitely recommend, I would want to make a recommendation that we go with the low bidder, as long as you feel like they're highly qualified.
Right. I wouldn't have brought anybody that I don't
Okay.
think is.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah, I would say, right now, we have a motion and a second to approve the company that was recommended, which is Cole and Associates. We've had discussion. Do you want to remove your motion or your second?
I'll remove my motion.
Okay. So then do I have a new motion?
I don't know who the low bidder is, but who I would recommend that we go with.
It's GLC.
It's $1,400.
Lickstein,
GLC.
Lavelle, and Karis.
Okay, I would make a motion that we
Lickstein,
go.
Lavelle, and Karis. I would second.
So you're motioning for the new recommendation, and then Debbie, you were the second? Okay, I can't come up with the name again, sorry.
GLC.
Thank you, GLC. So discussion with regards to the new motion.
Susan, can you outline any risk that management sees in doing this?
I think, as far as risk goes, no. I believe that our shared service center, as well as here, we have good internal controls in place to protect the association and our company as well. And so I think that whoever we go with is going to see that we have good systems in place. So I don't really see any risk, other than it's going to take an investment of time on our part to be able to get the new auditors up to speed.
I have a question, because that group is out west, out in
No, they're
Arizona.
here.
They're saying that Scottsdale, Arizona is their mailing
No, that's
address.
us.
That's the address of
That's our
CCNC.
address.
Okay.
That's our corporate address.
They are actually over in Altamont
Altamont
Springs.
Springs.
Okay.
Look at the
No.
footer, Jack.
Okay.
And again,
And
it's
everyone
nothing,
was
like,
local.
Papers were
Yeah.
half.
I guess my only question
Down to.
is, if that was to be switched to the new company, what is the impact to CJC and CCS?
CJC, the way that the motion was written was just to improve engagement letters. It didn't say which company. We did provide Ron Cole's quotes, but it didn't say which company. And I did also talk to him that it's pending CROA's approval, because I told him CROA could pick somebody different.
Okay, so we don't know with the new with switching companies, what the impact will be to the, if that's for, because obviously in order to switch for CJC, we need to get, we have to get the CJC board and.
They've already approved to move with the insurance. I told them that the other company was a lower bid, so if CROA board went with that company, it would end up saving them money, and they were okay with that. And we could certainly do a online, have them sign and ratify at their next meeting, but they've approved to do the engagement letters. And because of the timing of the meeting, it kind of had to be a pending CROA's, because you guys are 75%.
My question though was, did CJC have an issue if indeed somebody, we were to change it from Cole, did they have did they have an issue with that when you were having the conversation?
No.
Okay.
Eric and I are both on that board. I can't speak for Eric, though.
Okay.
And it's
Any-
certainly nothing as far as Cole, they've done a fabulous job, but it's just, it's standard practices,
to
and that was
Paul's
something
point,
before
yeah.
Paul brought it up, I wanted to express as
Well,
well.
Go ahead, Leonard.
And the reason I spoke also was when I noticed the total price discrepancy between CROA's, CJC's, and CCS's tax return. It was enough money
that I wanted to just make sure the board was aware that there was that discrepancy in there. I think switching, is not a bad idea. That's kind of, I actually had asked Susan, and she sent a note off while we were talking the other day on Monday, to see if COA wanted to revise their bid downward at all, and evidently they didn't want to revise it downward. So that's where we are. I have nothing else to say.
So, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Tab 10, motion to approve the engagement of Cole and Associates to audit CJC in the amount of $3,000 for 2016.
I'd like to motion to engage GLC for the CJC audit
In
in
2016?
2016.
Okay, Leonard, Leonard's motion, second. Do you have a second from somebody?
I'll second.
Second from Paul, discussion?
Same thing?
Okay.
There's no risk or anything with this one? Okay.
I think for all three of these, the same questions have been asked.
Okay, I just wanna make sure.
Discussed with the
Yeah.
public.
Got it, okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
I want to hear you say nay, Tim. Can you say nay?
I just
Tab-
don't see us going through all of this extra time for that staff just to change auditors. I just don't get it. I'm sorry.
Tab 11, motion to approve the engagement of Cole and Associates to prepare the 2016 tax return for CCS in the amount of $7,500, or $750.
Yeah,
It'll be
gosh.
higher, so
It'll
the
be higher.
prices are irrelevant.
Oh,
It'll be-
so
This
do-
one's a little bit higher.
So what's your motion then?
Oh, actually, for the tax return, I would
Mhm.
motion to retain Cole for that.
I don't know if the same price would apply
Yeah.
if you're only doing one.
I'm not thinking so.
It would
Yeah.
probably-
Actually, this is a simple return. This is such a simple return.
But all the finances are kind of work together, so it makes a lot of sense to use the
I
same
think you want to stay
company.
the same.
Yeah, I would just,
I would
if,
say-
yeah.
That is still $1,800 savings.
Well, we
I
don't
mean,
have a
it's $2
second,
more,
so-
but-
Okay,
Right.
so what are you seconding?
Oh,
So what's, didn't
We
you,
need a
What's the
motion.
No, he
Cole.
motioned for
You don't want
Cole.
Yeah.
No, you don't want Cole.
Who motioned for, Leonard motioned for Cole?
There's
Yeah,
motion
we
for
don't
Cole.
want Cole. Well, I guess we
It
can. We can
appears-
motion and we have a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're on
We have a motion.
discussion.
We're on discussion part.
Well, I don't even think it applies if, I mean, it's like,
They
all
probably
for
want to do
one
it since they're
or
doing the
not. I
other.
don't think- I
The
don't
cost
think
is
that
gonna
bid
be
would
different,
stay.
but also you want uniformity.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
They're not gonna come out
it's
here.
not that
well,
different.
I'll withdraw my motion
It's
then.
not that different.
Okay.
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 So, someone
What's
else
all this
motion?
So do I have a new motion then?
For the Glickstein thing.
The
GLC?
GLC?
Yeah.
You motion for GLC
Can't
for
remember all the names.
CCS in the,
And whatever amount
in
that
whatever
is.
amount it is.
$2.
Okay. And second from, Debbie, you second?
Yeah.
Paul.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Tab 12, approval of proposed insurance renewal for the 2016-2017 policy year through SILE Insurance in the amount of $136,068.00. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Jack, do I have a second?
Seconded?
Second from Leonard, discussion?
In our 3-hour-long presentation that we had in regards to insurance, I know one of that I motioned for, and I apologize, that I just wanted to understand, there were a couple of things that were pending that I know that they were looking for, if there was gonna be a cost savings or not. When I read through this, it didn't look like there was.
It's actually an increase over what
Yeah.
they originally brought to us, once we included all the Spring Lake amenities, the fencing at the dog park, and then the water tower, included in the CGC, so it's a little bit higher.
Okay.
I think about $5,000.
And the only other piece that I wanted to note in here is that I know we were trying to figure out with the directors and officers liability insurance, that it is included in this, and I just want to make sure that it was.
The
Okay.
Gino is included. I think the other question was the fidelity.
Yeah,
And we
right.
have that as a separate agenda.
Right, right. Okay.
Any further questions, comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. The D&O liability is with the same insurer?
It's the same as we've had in the past.
Same as we had in the
yes.
past, okay.
Pretty much everything is, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tab 13, motion to waive fidelity insurance requirements of $7 million and reducing to $1 million for the 2016-2017 insurance policy term as required per FS Florida statute 720.3033.
Motion to approve.
Before you go to the motion, can I give you just something for discussion purposes
Yes.
that may affect
Do-
your motion?
Oh, okay. Before-
I reached out to Lou and I sent him everything CCMC has, and I said, does this cover the difference between the 1 million that's gonna be in the fidelity and the 7 that's needed? And his response was the total coverage CCMC carries is 6 million, which will, with celebrations 1 million, achieves your total of 7 million. So something to consider though, however, is the bond that CCMC provides is not exclusive to celebration, and it applied to all CCMC clients. So if there's no backup coverage beyond your 1 million, if that was
Somebody use
So if
it.
another
exhausted from
CCMC community
Yeah,
gets
that's,
hit.
if
But
CCMC goes down, it's
It-
gonna go
it
down
takes
for
awesome.
everybody, not just for us.
But on the other hand, the odds of a loss anywhere near the total of our funds is very, very low, because of the checks and balances that are in place through CCMC. So it's something for you to consider. as
So you roll the
think.
dice.
And that's exactly the words that he said. If you roll your dice, it's a very, very low odds that that would happen.
I mean, yeah, we have the,
How good are you,
What was the,
perhaps?
what was the, what was
We have the
the
fund in
cost
13
that
different
savings
accounts.
by doing that?
$7,500.
it was a lot,
It was, yeah,
Quite a bit.
it was a lot, yeah.
I thought it was like 17.
That's a lot of mulch.
No, 7,500.
That's a lot of mulch.
7,500.
Well, unless things go bad, 7 million's even more. So that's something,
I wouldn't be worried about mulch then.
just saying,
I would
there's,
say also that there is a provision with this with Lou, if a loss was to occur with CCMC, that we would be informed and we could
And you could go
immediately
ahead.
take
So
out
what would
policy.
have to happen is, and I don't think this would ever happen, but
Yeah.
CCMC would have to be stealing $6 million worth
Right.
of money and
Which we
then
would
still
know.
go
Yeah.
bankrupt, which is, again, now your odds are
Right.
very low for that.
Then we could call Lou and say, hey, we'd like to bump this up.
And they'd have to do it in a very, very short period of time.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
the,
how does that work?
Which we never
yeah,
would.
think of,
Huh?
yeah.
No, for that money, for
Right.
that, it wouldn't be like, oh, $500,000 went missing last month.
Yeah.
You know, it'd have to be, it would be such a massive fraud that,
Right.
in my mind, it can't happen.
Okay. So, based on that discussion, we don't have, well, just a second, let's
It could
back.
happen. We have large reserves, and,
Can-
it's happened before where people say, you report that we've got $4 million at XX bank, and if you don't go back and make sure that that money's in there, we could be reporting right now, we got $5 million in this
And we
bank.
don't.
How do you know that? I mean, it's just on a report. We don't know that. I
Well,
mean, that's one of the
on the
thing the auditor
financial-
is supposed to do, but, so we could. We've got a lot of reserve money, so we have
I'd
a lot of
blame the
money.
treasurer.
That's why I want a new auditor.
So, based on the comments we have on the table, have so far from Steve and then from Paul, do I have a motion to actually continue the discussion? Do I have a motion?
Well, didn't you move before?
Nobody
No,
voted,
there's
no,
no
because
motion on the
Steve
floor.
said before
Oh,
he
okay.
wanted to make his
Well, go
statement
ahead, Debbie,
before.
just restate it.
Just restate the motion to approve,
Right, so do I have a motion?
motion to approve.
You have a motion,
Yep.
so Debbie's motioning to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Tim? Okay, now, any further discussion? Paul, did I interrupt your thought? or
No,
you
no,
good?
I
Okay.
agree with doing it. I'm just saying,
Okay.
that we got a lot of money sitting out there.
Yes, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tab 4, ratify the decision to approve the following 4 service area landscape projects. Installation of landscaping by the 6 walkways, and do I really need to read all this?
No.
Thank you.
I move to approve.
But we already filled these out.
You just have to ratify.
We have to
Yeah, we just need-
I move to
yeah.
ratify all of them.
Okay.
I'll second.
So motion from Jack,
Jack.
second from Tim. For those that, for audience purposes, we're ratifying it. These are all things that have come through the board via email over the last week and a half. that needed, our goal was to make sure that the service areas were able to receive everything and looking in tip-top shape in time for the holiday season, as we have promised them. And in order to do that, we needed to get it done ASAP.
And it was discussed at the October meeting.
And it was discussed at the actual meeting that we were gonna do this. Just give me 1 second.
October meeting.
Oh, there's no it's, there's 4 service areas that need landscaping. It's for,
Meeting House Green, Academy
Campus?
Row.
yeah,
right.
go ahead.
South Village Townhomes, Parkview Townhomes, and Charleston Place Townhomes.
Okay. And it was in order to vote on it via email, we must have unanimous consent by all 7 board members. And now that's when we are ratifying it. So just as a quick clarification for that. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do we have discussion?
Oh, well, that
done.
was kind of, did you have discussion? We already ratified it. We don't have any discussion.
Everybody voted in favor.
It was already,
You already
Yeah, can we just make one
unanimously
comment?
oh,
approved.
absolutely.
Just,
Go ahead.
just a comment I
Sure.
think that we made on the emails is that we wanted to not rush this again and go through that process again. So I
Yes,
just wanted to make that comment.
absolutely. This is
We
not our
agree.
standard protocol.
It's not standard and was done for the residents
Yes.
to have it for the holidays, but
Yes.
we will try not to do that again.
Yes, thank you, Debbie, for
Sorry.
clarifying that.
Thank you.
That's important.
Which discussions?
Okay, so tab 15, motion to install the Jasmine in Savannah Square is approved by ARC by City Beautiful in the amount of $4,722.80, service area operating expense. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from, who was it?
Tim.
Second by Jack.
Paul? Tim, who was it?
Tim.
Tim
Tim,
motion,
sorry.
second from Jack, is that right?
Yep.
Discussion.
Yeah, this estimate's not for Jasmine, just so that we're clear. We're voting on a lot more than Jasmine, correct?
Go ahead.
Well, there's a whole list of stuff.
Yeah, there's the pine bark mulch, which I thought we weren't using anymore, and there's the bed prep for this. So, and then there's zoysia sod in here for $1,900, which is actually the bulk of this. It's not even Jasmine.
Right.
So,
I was gonna say, the jasmine is what we got permission from ARC to remove the sod and replace it with jasmine where the roots of the trees weren't allowing the.
This was the one that went
sod
to ARC,
survive.
that was addressed and went to ARC, and
Is
got
this for the
right.
other side of the street or just where the cars are parked?
Have you been over there?
It's just where the cars are parked.
Okay.
It's on the front side.
I mean, I looked at that, I don't see any tree roots. I mean, I'm just gonna say that I think when the cars are always parked there. I walk that a couple times a day, and just getting out into the jasmine as opposed to grass,
You're confusing two things.
Yes, we are, we're mixing two
Yeah.
different
Okay,
conversations.
okay,
That's
let's-
already done, that's already in.
That-
It's
But
already,
let's-
it's
that's
some
the
there,
park.
it's like scraggly, yeah. it's-
The Jasmine, Debbie,
So you're
is
pulling the ones that's
is
there.
in front of the 17 townhomes around Savannah Square. Each tree where it comes out of the ground, right next to the tree on both sides, tends to not want to grow anything.
So is
That's
this
where
not
they're
on that
putting-
parking, is this not on that area where there's 2 cars parked?
No, this is not there at all.
No,
This is the other side?
No, no.
This is
Yeah.
the other 3 sides.
Okay.
But it's
got
this-
it on part of it, not on the other, right now, the
Yeah,
jasmine.
there's jasmine already there. They're just expanding the amount of jasmine, I
Jasmine is
guess.
going around,
That's
okay.
all I really
And the
understand.
jasmine, where the 2 cars park, that is actually part of Long Meadow,
Yes.
not part of Savannah Square per
Okay.
se.
So I guess my point here is that really, we're motioning for a landscape bid, really, is what we're doing. And then,
Not just jasmine.
not just jasmine.
Yeah.
And the jasmine is technically, we just want to highlight that it was approved by the Architectural Review Committee. We went through that process. But I guess my concern with this is when I read it, it says mini pine bark mulch. And it sounds like we're going through in other areas of the community that we're switching to the cocoa brown compressed cypress mulch type thing. So is that, are we putting down the wrong mulch? Is my
I
question.
don't believe we're putting down the wrong mulch there, but I will certainly verify that before
Okay.
we move forward.
This is the service area's choice for the mulch.
Okay,
Also,
yeah,
as long as
it's
they've
true.
approved, as long as those 17 voters, or 17 townhomes have
Well,
approved that.
ARC has to approve.
Yeah,
No, but if it's an
Well, it is
acceptable
approved. It's the same
item
one
to
they've
put
already
down,
put
and
in.
the 17 townhomes have approved it,
Every time we do a change like this, whether it's about, just recently in Savannah Square, we helped them with some light issues. we send it out to every single owner, and then they come back with their responses before it ever goes to ARC.
Okay.
So a majority of the homeowners there are in agreement with this landscape
Okay.
change. And I think it should read landscape change as opposed to
Just
jazz.
Right.
adjustment, yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tab 16, approval of 2 homeowner requests totaling $702.25.
Suggestion, can we just take these two separately?
Yep.
Make a motion.
Well, let's start with number 1. I'll make a motion to
I'll make a motion to waive total of $25
For which?
for number 1.
and I will second that motion. I was trying to decide to come up with a number.
Okay.
But it appears that it happens 6 times in a row.
It's every quarter. She's been here since 2015, so it's every quarter.
But they've never been waived, just as a clarification on
Yes.
that.
Are we
Right.
doing 100? Never mind.
And they have monthly assessments
No,
too.
I said 0 ways, but what are we gonna do? Up to
Jack, where are you getting the 25 from?
I was thinking the same
I
thing.
figure 1 quarter, we normally waive 1 quarter.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh, I see, okay,
Okay.
got it, all right, makes
You know,
sense.
After 6 quarters, you better figure it out.
Okay.
Is this 1 quarter or 1 month? Are
1
they paid
quarter.
monthly or quarterly?
Quarter.
Well, this would be
On
CROA,
Resolute, I
yeah.
think their service fees monthly.
Susan,
right?
Susan, can
Is it
you
town
share
hall?
with us,
Isn't that a town hall?
It's actually
Just a second.
Rachel.
I'm happy to agree with you.
Is it,
It's a
is
service
it,
A lot of remarks here, you'll notice, because it's, you know, you go over the same thing each and every time, and they offer nothing new as to why they weren't getting the information. We go and confirm addresses, everything, and unless there's something new to change a problem as to why you didn't get your statements, then we can't offer really anything. So
Yep.
your idea to do $25 makes complete sense.
because it's for 1 quarter, okay.
So just,
it's actually monthly
It's monthly.
assessments because it says she never received her coupon book.
So it's monthly.
So-
coupon
Okay,
books.
got it.
so just for folks at home so that they know that management went through this, they tried to verify the address, we reached out to them, figured it out, and that's where Rachel was saying, no one could hear that.
Thank you, Rachel. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
So let me, I mean, so if we forgave a quarter, which is what we do in CROA, that would be $75 we would forgive, is that right?
No.
Well, it would be 3 months.
It'd be 3 months,
For the
which is
$75.
three.
service area and then 1 CROA.
Late
Oh, which would be
fees are
$100.
$25
For the
per,
service fee and 25 for the CROA, so it'd be 100.
But it's,
25 and change.
it's
Yeah.
25 per
25 and
statement.
change?
It's
Is that
per
what you said?
statement.
Okay.
And CROA is quarterly, and the service areas are monthly, right?
Right.
So,
Well, she's,
so Rachel just said late fees, Rachel just said for that quarter would be about $25, is that correct?
25 and change.
Right.
Late fees for the whole quarter or for per
Yeah, because a
month?
late fee is, yeah,
But the service area has a late fee.
Service area gets a monthly statement.
right.
So do they get a
They
late
don't
fee
get a
every
monthly
month that
statement.
they pay
They get an
late?
annual
Right.
coupon book.
They get the coupon.
Service area late fee for a month would be $25, correct?
Yes.
So 3 service area late fees and 1 CROA late fee would be a total of 100. That was the
That's
question.
correct.
Okay.
And they have
This is
175
CROA
total.
fees, not
Both.
service fees, service areas.
He's asking for,
Right.
I think they're all combined.
That's pretty much, I mean, and that there's $20 in interest, so if you're only gonna do $25, I'm saying that I think that that's fair, considering.
Rachel, can I ask you a question? Is this CROA dues or is it service area?
That's
what I
what I
thought.
thought.
Quarterly.
That's what I thought. This is only CROA.
It's only
So I
CROA, okay.
Yeah.
stand with our motion.
Okay, so
Okay.
Jack,
Yeah.
and we still have a motion and a second for the 25. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so $25 is waived for number 1. Do I have a motion for number 2?
But she's,
If you don't get that.
Do I have a motion for number 2?
I move to turn it down.
A second?
So we have a motion to deny from Jack and a second from Debbie. Discussion.
Just to add some comment on that one.
Yes, please.
We have no intention of paying any fees. Ever.
Well, there you go.
Well,
No.
and it says in the comments, why? Okay.
Okay, vote.
So any further discussion?
Call the question.
Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tab number 17, approval of one legal request as advised by attorney. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept management's recommendation, which is the attorney's recommendation stipulating that late fees and interest are waived at the end of the payment plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Motion
move
from
that.
Jack, a second from who?
I'll second that.
Second from Tim. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tab 18, which is revised in our packets, we have the piece of paper in front of us.
Revised?
Oh, they
Or
just took
on our.
the wall.
They
or
just
on
had
our-
a duplicate entry in there,
Oh,
Yeah.
is all.
Oh, is that okay?
It's
Oh,
the
so
same
on our
if you
tab
just
two.
knock
All
out one of the
Yeah,
center
Perfect.
entries.
Okay.
Okay.
So, approval of 6 attorney instructed write-offs totaling $30,714. Do I have a motion?
So moved to accept it.
Motion from Jack, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Tim. Discussion.
Not that I don't like it, but we don't have a choice.
For the audience out there, the reason this amount is we've got 3 foreclosures, four foreclosures and 2 bankruptcies. There's no way you can collect the money. It's gone. So we're not just throwing money down the
Well,
drain.
here's, the issue to me is that why, because we have to pay legal fees, the issue to me is that we are spending, it's costing us all our members are paying $12,353. So the real issue is, what is going on to initiate legal action? And are we making sure that when we initiate the legal action, that we have good reason to believe that we're gonna get recovery? Like, number 7, I could have told you, I'm not a lawyer, and I could have told you we were gonna lose our money on that deal. I would never have sent a lawyer on that. So it's like, we've got to, have we taken a hard look at that, or can we take a look at that and say, what is, because if we're depending on the attorney, our attorney, to say, yeah, you need to take legal action, it's like, of course, he's making money, he wants to take legal action all the time,
Well,
and
but he
we
may
end
have-
up paying for
He
it.
may have started legal action when it was still the ITL, before the bankruptcy was even a thought, see? Could be, that could be.
Yeah, but there's a lot of judgment that goes into it, especially when we're the one paying it, and, we need to be a part of that. If the judgment is just coming from the attorney who's gonna get the fees, they're gonna say, I would think they'd say every time, let's go after them.
Well, I think there's a catch-22, because there always are gonna be, you get to a point where if you don't do anything, sometimes you won't get the results you're looking for, so you start the ITL process, and then as soon as you go into legal, the attorney fees are there and they get charged back to the account. So you pursue it up until the point where you have the foreclosures or the bankruptcy until you can no longer pursue it.
Yeah.
And I think
This
then
one's
you have
almost
selective
$5,000.
enforcement at that point in
You're
time too.
exactly right.
You can't sue one and not the other for the same thing,
Well, and
correct?
also, there are some, if someone's in mortgage foreclosure and they're behind by, $600 in assessments, that's an indication that they're not gonna be paying those assessments moving forward. And so we have a responsibility to answer that, and that goes through the attorney, in order to answer that mortgage foreclosure, inquiry, to secure our position and secure our funds. And same with bankruptcy. It goes through the attorney in order to secure our rights to collect any money that
If
we
they
can
come out of
collect.
bankruptcy.
Yes, and then they are the ones who advise us on whether or not we can collect.
When
it's
do we
all-
See, if they
initiate
come out of bankruptcy, we can go after them right now, right that very day.
the intent to lien? Is that done after how many months? Is it?
I don't
It's
understand.
usually done, assessments are due on the 1st
Yeah, but
of
just-
January, let's say.
Right.
They're late after the 30th or the 31st.
Right.
And so then, usually at the February meeting, which is the 4th week of the month,
Right.
you're sending out the intent to liens, but we're sending a late notice there towards the beginning of February.
Right, but you're doing it at 2 months. Is that, just with other
So-
associations, is that normal, or do
Yeah.
most go 3 to
That's
4?
about normal.
Yeah, that's.
If you had a meeting
That's different.
earlier in the month, it would be at the day after the 30th, the day after the last day of the month.
It
So
just
if you
seems
met
fast.
the next day, you,
And what's the expense for that, the 2-month period?
It's gonna be just the cost of the, sending the letter, right,
Well,
which
yeah,
I
for me,
calculated.
This
about-
goes into our judgment about the attorneys that we have. And when we have large write-offs like this, I think that's when we begin to think, maybe we need to look at somebody else. Who is the attorney for us in this? And who makes these
Becker and
decisions?
Polikoff is our collections attorney, and some of the older cases, Larson and Associates, our attorney.
So you don't know which ones are which in this? or-
I couldn't tell you right off the bat, but I can certainly send that to you in email tomorrow.
It just seems like a lot of money that we're having, at $12,353 that we're all eating.
Actually,
Per
Paul,
attorney.
it's 11,214,10. They
Okay.
didn't retotal that
Okay.
column.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
for-
take out 1138.
Because it
For
came down from,
They doubled- they
came down
doubled
from the 31,853.36 to the 30,714.44. But they didn't take it out of the attorney's
Internal.
column.
I feel better about that now.
I think it's for 4
So
homes, that's a
any-
high fee.
Math error.
Yeah.
So I think
2
it's
points
fair to
off.
say that that just based on not only this, but we've also had the other issue with liens, that we wanted to have that conversation maybe in one of the workshops. That would be something that would be prudent. Is that reasonable, Paul?
I'd like to. I'd like to
Okay.
take a look at this and see if we can't find somebody to do something better. I'd like to understand how much we've had to write off to the attorneys, and then, it's like the auditor. It's like, let's bring in somebody else and, give them a shot at it. I mean, if we're paying $50,000 for attorneys for these write-offs, I'd like to see if we can find somebody, give somebody else a shot at it.
Okay. So, any further discussion with regards to the motion on the floor? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We already did our update, we already did our strategic update, unless there's anybody that thought between now and then that we forgot something?
I got one thing.
What about our covenant sheet? Why, I can't vote no on the covenants?
Oh, wait, yeah, where's the covenants?
We're not sending those out during the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Merry
Sorry.
Christmas.
you won that
Sorry.
vote,
I
actually.
guess I would, yeah.
I got one
Okay,
thing.
go ahead.
Get my
Jack
way.
has one comment.
I've talked with a couple of members of the CDD, and one thing I'd like to do is investigate the possibility of partnering with them as far as getting a pressure washer to clean curbs and sidewalks jointly throughout the community, because we don't do a very good job. And I know, Eric, you had the cyclone come in, about a year ago, but that was a little too large. But I think we'd be money ahead if we went and did this.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Any further,
And it's-
any other board comments, questions?
The only other comment that I'll have
Badly.
is, as I said at the beginning, I was approached by a media outlet to make a comment on something. And I think that, we have a lot of things going on in the community right now, from things happening downtown, to our fiber deployment, to new construction, to the assisted living facility that's going out there. If you are approached in the community and stuff like that, obviously, it's your right to comment, but if they're looking for official information on the community or anything like that, we do have, folks on staff here that can provide that information too, on statistics and demographic information. So, feel free to reach out to management on that as well.
Any
Those
other?
adjourned.
Excellent. Motion and a second. Yay. Adjourned.